This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Boobies!
Hi.
Hello, and welcome to
Boobies.
Boobies. That's right. We're your host. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we have a guest.
Woo.
Hi.
This is
I'm
Tess.
so happy to be here.
Hi. Oh, and we're happy to have you.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit? I mean, we'll give you an opportunity at the end to plug everything, but do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do and why we have you here today?
Yeah, so I'm an artist. I like to obviously create stuff with horror movies. Some of my stuff's on my wall behind me, all these little Barbie prints. But I illustrate, I paint, I do doll customs, which I have some right here. And yeah, I'm just really inspired by horror movies. I love to talk about them. So I'm excited to talk about the movie today.
Yeah, you came to the right place.
And with horror, there's so much to be inspired by, there's so many, and it's really cool that you do that through so many different mediums.
Yeah.
It's
honestly,
so cool.
horror movies. It's fun. I like to take, obviously I do the Barbies and stuff, kind of turn horror on its head and, find the camp in it. I really like that aspect of horror. I feel like not a lot of the movies you could do that with.
Yeah, and I think your Barbies is actually how I found you.
Yeah.
It was last year when the Barbie movie was really trending. I think you did. I don't remember which Barbie it was now, but that was, I think, how I found you. And then I was like, I'm going to follow her because she's so cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's
And
like the
all
mix
your
of your
work is
favorite
so
things.
cool.
Because you love dolls and you love horror. So
Yes, I collect dolls.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Like creepy dolls.
her apartment is when you walk into it's like an antique shop almost.
Yeah.
Because it's just there's stuff.
the
everywhere.
haunted,
Yeah.
porcelain dolls. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Oh, my camera's moving. But no, what was that?
That was so weird.
Not Monster High, haunted ones that you need a exorcist to come in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
Definitely.
have a few dolls. Two of which are named Annabelle and Lorraine, after Annabelle the doll, and then Lorraine Warren. But yeah, they're identical dolls, but they're terrifying. They were actually both given to me as gifts, and the first one, Annabelle, when she was given to me, I was so afraid to take her home because I was like, this doll is fucking cursed.
Yeah.
And so I left her at my place of work where I was gifted it, and for a week.
Did anything bad happen at work?
No,
Mm-hmm.
but I did. I still waved to her on occasion and just
just respect.
yeah. And
we're good.
when I moved up to the Dallas area, I packed her up and was like, okay, you're going to go in this box now, but it's just going to be for a little bit and I'll take you out. It's going to be fine. You'll get your chair back. She has her own special chair that she shares with Lorraine.
You get there, you open up the box and she carved I hate Caitlin.
Miss me?
Just
Bitch.
of a doll.
Oh my god.
I love it.
But yeah, so yeah, I like dolls.
Love
but-
it. Dolls, and what else do we like?
The substance.
I was trying to make the noise from the there you go.
That was more
Yeah. We definitely should have had that little soundbite added. Maybe they can add that in the post edit. But the substance, yes. Released 2023. Starring Demi Moore.
Yeah, Margaret
Qualley.
Okay, great. Dennis Quaid. My mom was actually in a movie with Dennis Quaid.
What?
Yeah, my mom was an extra.
I didn't even know your mom was ever in a movie. You never told me that.
Oh, yeah, my mom was a model. She was for Vidal Sassoon and she was a hair model.
Oh, that's cool.
For Paul Mitchell and everyone back in the early 90s, late 80s and
big
stuff.
Hair.
Yeah, big hair.
Mm-hmm.
And she At least I'm pretty sure it was Dennis Quaid. Let me double check.
You know what's real
now
funny
that
though?
I've just like maybe lied.
Is I made a list because for some reason, I left it in the car. There's like these 4 actors that I always just kind of like, I don't know why. And it's Dennis Quaid.
It was Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. She was in DOA,
I've
Dead
never
on
seen
Arrival.
that. Okay, I'll have
My
to look
mom
that
was
up.
an extra in that movie.
I'm going to look it up and then you have to tell me which scene so I can see where your mom
I think
is.
she was wearing like a little candy striped shirt, almost like a Where's Waldo situation. She's like slowed it down and showed me the scene before.
Oh,
but
if I was in a movie
like,
with Dennis Quaid, I would just like cut that little scene and just have it like on the
Plastered
wall
on the
somewhere.
wall.
Like just like, everybody look, this is me with Dennis Quaid in a movie. But no, I always get like Dennis Quaid, Harrison Ford, and like what's the other Russell
Brand?
No,
Crowe.
not Russell Brand. Not Russell Crowe. No, Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like they're kind of all have like
Yeah.
similar like facial structure and stuff.
Generic
to me.
white man.
Yeah, like so
Yeah.
I always like they're like interchangeable to me. But yeah, Dennis Quaid. And I mean it kind of more or less just focuses on their characters for the most part of the movie. And,
Yeah.
and even at the beginning part, I loved how there wasn't necessarily even like other than the interactions with the characters themselves, like there's not that much dialogue. Like we're just like solely left on just like kind of visuals, and like Demi Moore is just kind of like interaction with her life and world.
Yeah.
But yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, this movie was shot beautifully.
Yeah. So beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah, even at the end, like when shit is hitting the fan. And we go full spoiler here too. So
Okay.
Yeah.
But like just with like the blood everywhere and people
yeah.
screaming and everything, it was so beautiful. I was like, wow.
It's given like a ballet almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like sobbing in the theater. I don't know why my emotions were so unregulated while watching that movie. Like that scene, just sobbing. And I don't think it was meant to be sad, but I think just like the pure rage of just like spraying everyone with blood. I was like, yes. Like,
Well,
yeah.
And there's so many ways that you can interpret like that whole scene and ending and interaction and what's going on with the crowd and everything. And too, when they're like yelling at him, they're like monster and
calling her a freak.
And she's just like, she reminded me of, do y'all remember like the Powerpuff Girls episode where they made their own like concoction and she was purple and she was kind of like,
yeah.
I'm a Powerpuff Girl. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
Oh, I
Yeah.
have to look it up.
You'll have to look at, I don't remember her name, but it was the same thing where it's like she just wanted to be loved and everybody's like, you're ugly, you're a monster. But so I can see, it was kind of very disheartening.
It was very sad.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I felt very,
well,
my
the
heart
whole
was
movie,
breaking for her.
The whole movie is a heartbreak because it's essentially like, especially when she's like, Demi Moore's character, Elizabeth, she's like, you're the only part that I love. Like, I hate myself.
Yeah.
You know? Like that. I would think we can all resonate with that. And like when she's in
the diner with the old man.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, you have to remember that you matter.
Yeah.
And stuff. I was like, oh my God. And this is a little offbeat, but last night I had Panda Express.
Love it.
And I got the Beyond Orange chicken. It was so good. But I had a fortune cookie. And I opened it and it said, you are perfect the way you are. Aww. And I was like, that's not a fortune. And then I watched this and I was like, oh, it must have been like predicting and preparing me for watching this film.
To remind yourself after.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I thought you were going to say it said you are one.
Dude, could you imagine?
Shit, I'm in the substance.
Dude, activate. Or it just gives you a number.
Yep, I'm 506.
Oh, the lucky number's on the back. And instead of like all the numbers,
it
would
one
just
of
be
them
one
is
number.
503. I'm going to have to, I'll look it up when I get home.
You have to dig back through the trash to find it?
Oh, no, I
saved
it. Oh, but that would have been if I thrown it away.
Also, this movie was kind of giving me like, I don't know if y'all have ever seen like, well, there's so many movies, but like Sofia Coppola, like Spring Breakers, like the way visually it was just so shot, so pretty, like all this, like it was like almost at times I'm like, this is like a music video at times, the way it transitioned or it would like go to the next scenes and stuff.
The shots and the colors and
so vibrant. It's pretty.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Definitely filmed with our eyes like in mind and being very visually stunning. And then it is directed by Caroline Fargeat. Gia.
A very French
Yeah, I
name.
was not sure how to
Sorry.
say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, if I'm butchering it, I'm so sorry, but she's French, so
And this did win a Cannes Best Screenplay.
oh, did it?
Yeah,
That's really
Sir.
cool.
the Cannes Film Festival. That's how you pronounce it, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
She made a movie called Revenge.
Very good. If
Did
you haven't
you-
seen it,
Okay.
they're very good.
I feel like I think I saw it, but I'm not sure.
I definitely have not seen it.
It's like you watch Substance and then you watch Revenge. Well, I watched Revenge first, but
Yeah.
you can tell it's very like signature things she does in movies. There's the shot with Dennis Quaid in the restaurant, and you see I think it's a fly drowning in his drink, and like how gross and visceral it is. And there's a lot of zoom ups on bugs in Revenge. So she really likes zooming up on like random details and shots.
That
I
are
read
Which
like,
I loved.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why my camera's moving so much. I'm so sorry. I don't
No,
know.
it's
you're
okay.
okay.
It's being possessed. It's very on
it's
brand.
too dull.
It's okay.
Yeah.
No, I think
Annabelle's like,
I did watch
let
that
me
movie.
get my hands in this.
Like drunkenly sometime. I think that's why I kind of remember it,
Yeah.
not remember it. But yeah, that movie was very like also graphic. Like
Yeah, really. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
gory.
Mhm.
Lots of blood.
But badass movie. But yeah, if we want to jump in, we can jump right into it.
Yeah. So we open up with the scene of an egg and being injected with
Mhm.
something. And then we see, what's that called? Like mitosis?
Like when it's mutating, the,
Oh.
the
It
forms are.
like splits off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it is mitosis.
That's a good
Cell,
word for
cell,
it.
cell.
Mitosis.
We're not rocket scientists. It's
Mitochondria
okay.
is the powerhouse of the cell.
But you get one gold star, Caitlin. There you go. Yeah. But yes, I think it's a really cool way to open up the movie because obviously it's setting up basically like the principle of the whole film of like the
The
one
split.
becoming the two and the split.
Yeah.
But essentially are from the same yolk. You know, it is you. And so
You are one.
I thought it was visually really cool. And then we come to the gold star. Or what are they called? Hollywood?
Hollywood Walk of
And
Fame.
then-
Hollywood-
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
A star. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
Gold star, yeah.
Yeah. With Elizabeth Sparkle.
Sparkle, I know.
But we're seeing like the
It made
creation
me
of
think
it.
of How I Met Your Mother and Robin Sparkle.
Robin Sparkle. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because she was a star in Canada.
Canada, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I like watched a little bit of that show.
We
not a lot.
we rewatch it quite
Mhm.
often. But it made me think of Robin Sparkle. But at the end too, with the sparkles coming down on her
Mhm.
and stuff, it's so like, yeah.
Poetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, full
Mhm.
circle.
It's full circle, and it's definitely like.
I love the little bookend that this
Mhm.
film had.
Mhm.
It's not often that you see like a full circle moment anymore, I feel
Yeah.
like in films. And this one I was like, yes.
It makes your
Chef's
brain
kiss.
happy. It does.
Yeah, but-
Because it's very much like something like with the bow and then tied with the knot, and then it's like done. It's a package.
Mhm.
Here's a little present.
Mm-hmm.
My partner, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
My partner actually was the one that caught it, and I was like, "Oh, good catch!" That like in the beginning, the person's walking and drops the fries with the ketchup on the star,
Yeah.
and then the end, her blob becoming sort of like a ketchup-like blob on it. So it's just like spill on both ends,
Yeah.
like the full circle thing.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
a really good like
It did
metaphor.
yeah, because whenever he like cleaned up as much as he could the ketchup, it definitely looked like blood smeared all over it.
Yeah.
When he started wiping his foot in it, I'm like, why? Why would you do that? You know that wouldn't help. Yeah. But it's really cool too because we're getting to see like obviously with not any words or anything or them having to do like a montage of anything else, like just with the star,
showing
like
her decline from fame,
Mhm.
really.
Mhm.
Like you just see, I mean, you do get a little bit of like audio of them being like, oh, do you remember
Oh,
that
yeah.
actress?
Mhm.
She was in that one movie.
Mhm.
And but that's like really all you get. And it was a really beautiful way to show that decline without having to like go shot for shot and like add an extra 20 minutes to the movie.
Yeah,
of like showing her rise and then this and that. Yeah. It was really
no,
cool.
no.
I thought it was also really like I don't know. I just thought it was already from the get-go. I'm already seeing like, okay, this movie is gonna make me think. Like this movie's thought-provoking. It's not just like gonna rely on like spook and awe. Like
Yeah.
even though there are like even to me like the more scarier moments of the movie weren't necessarily even like it was more like shocking if anything as opposed to like scary if that makes sense. Yeah. We see all the time passing by, and then it cuts to the Sparkle Your Life, right? She's doing her
aerobics kind of thing.
Video.
Is it
I love
aerobics?
it. No, it's aerobics. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I love
very
it.
Jane Fonda.
And it looks so dated. Yeah, I like how it looks like it's set in a totally different time period, like the 80s or something.
Yeah.
It's like you're just making it not look current with her age.
Yeah.
Like they completely give Sue a new set, and they're like, "Oh, it's too dated." It's like, okay, well, this
definitely.
They definitely weren't like pulling their weight.
Yeah.
They
were
were
like, no, it's
making her.
50.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to reinvent yourself with the times and like keep, challenging and going with the current trends. Yeah. But it really was a failure on their part because she obviously looked amazing still. Like she looked great. Like
I know the whole time I was like, no, why would you want to change? You're beautiful.
Literally.
Yeah. But then then I think not to get like too thought, but like I was like, damn, would I do the same thing? Probably.
I'm like,
I think that's a big conversation that everyone's had after seeing this.
Yeah.
Like, would you do it? Would your other version respect yourself? Would it make you hate yourself?
I think I already have so much hatred.
I think that's a thing that a lot of people feel that like I like think about my younger self and would my younger, because I think like that's what you would kind of relate it to is like is your younger self. Like, would I like who I am today? Would I like who I was as a kid? I just think there's a lot of like self-hatred reflection in it.
Yeah.
That is just crazy to think about.
It is. It's very like existential.
It is existential. And also, so I was also a bit like, is the Sue that came out of her obviously looked different from Elizabeth, right? Because even Elizabeth, we saw younger versions of her. So I didn't I was kind of confused a bit at times too, where it's like, is it a different person or is it her but different, like in different
and
form?
The eyes weren't the same,
and the eyes were different colors.
Two different colors.
Yeah, it was like hazel green to blue.
But it confused me because the person the doctor guy or whatever nurse who gave her the stuff, he had blue eyes in both his older form and the younger form. So that's why I was just kind of like, I didn't quite like, that was kind of perplexing me a bit, because then I'm just like, I'm just like, I don't know, would it be a younger me, or would it be like a whole totally different version of me that's coming out? It almost is just giving like it brings out like one of your personalities, like, and then like makes that like its own full self, and then it starts working on its own, like without any care,
like the best part of you.
Yeah, I guess exactly.
Or what changes would make you better.
Yeah,
like maybe the substance was like, oh, you need blue eyes. Like, I don't know.
Green eyes are so in the 80s or whatever. It did. Going back to like what time period this was shot in, at first I was very confused, especially once she walks, after we get her aerobics thing and she walks out into that hallway. It was very like,
we're still in the 80s or something.
Like with the carpet and everything. And the carpet also like slightly reminded me of The Shining.
Yes.
A lot of parallels to The Shining.
Yeah. And but yeah, whenever we just walked out there, I almost was like, wait, shit, I thought this was like current day, like what's going on? I was confused for a little bit until like she goes into the bathroom and overhears heartbeat.
The conversation. He's on a cell phone, obviously, and stuff.
Yeah, and I loved the way Dennis Quaid played this character / every shot that the director and producers like took of him to make him look like the most disgusting man on the face of this planet.
So zoomed up all the time, like
almost fisheye lens.
Yeah, which like is always never going to be flattering on someone.
No.
It's like,
it's like the 0.5 trend.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
It's just like,
I love it.
Like, him in the bathroom was just like the most unattractive shot, and I feel like it's like he's ugly on the inside and ugly on the outside. So let's make him as disgusting as possible.
Yeah.
So many good details.
Yeah, really.
Like, to the point of where like they're even like his pee sounds, like the way it's coming out like an old man would pee, where it's just like squirt 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 squirt. Like I don't
Not
like
a nice
y'all
heavy flow.
You know, I know y'all aren't in the men's restroom a lot, but like when I'm in like and you hear an old man, he's struggling to get that. He's struggling to pee.
He got some stones he need to pass.
Also old.
Yeah, no. I'm always like, oh, bless his heart. It's okay. You got it. You got
Struggling.
it. You can do it.
Cheering him on.
Yeah. But it's funny to even like details like that. And then of course, because this all happens after we see her little moment on the TV, doing her show. And then she's walking through the hall and everybody's like, happy birthday. So it's obviously her birthday. And then, yeah, she's in the restroom, but she can't go to the women's because it's out of order. I was about to say under construction, my bad. Out of order. And so, yeah, she ends up in the men's restroom where his character, Harvey comes in.
I didn't get it till the very end.
His name was Harvey, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. At first, I was just like Dennis Quaid's character.
I was like Dick. I was like he's like Dick or douche in my notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's listening to him and he's saying like the worst things about how like she's 50 and she's just old and there needs to be a younger, hotter, sexier person on TV now.
Yeah.
And like I'm just like thinking like, oh, that's so cringe to like be listening to someone talk about you like that way.
Yeah.
It's so crappy. And especially like your
when
boss.
he's like older.
Yeah. And he's like the same age, if not older. Like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was something that I like picked up on, that I was just like, ew, men are so disgusting. And sometimes, not all men, I guess.
No, it's fine.
But you're great,
I think
Josh.
it's pretty passable of a statement.
But like, and the beauty standards for men, like
non-existent, almost.
Yeah, like he was passable at his age and stuff, and like no one questioned him. But the fact that she's got like hardly any sagging, she was so small, and like, I mean, like,
oh no,
like she looked amazing still, but just the fact that he could talk about her in that way, and it just was like, ew.
Yeah, really degrading.
I wrote you so many times in my notes.
Not even at the gross parts, just how they're talking about women.
Yes, exactly.
And I think people like to like not. I think especially even like culture and like guys especially like to be like probably would watch this and be like, oh, that's like over dramatic, or people don't really talk like that, or it's not really like that, but it is. And it is really like that, because for it to be passable and first even get to a point where it's like, no, this is like a reflection of the culture and the way people talk. Like even had a conversation with someone the other day, and he was just like, not to bring politics into like Kamala lost because like her whole thing was like, men suck. And I'm like, they do. And I'm like, and he tried to have, and he was just kind of like, no, like, like, and I'm like, no, like they do. Like, what do you mean? Like every system that's put in place now that we have today has been created and perpetuated by men, and what's not working are systems. So who's to blame? Men. Like, I don't know. That's just kind of where I went. But also, I mean, like, yes, not all men suck. And if you are a man listening, thank you. But, like, also, like, there are certain, claims that can be made that do have certain substance and can be backed up that, like, hey, but I'm sure that, it's not all that grand for a gal out here, because you do have to put up with all these crappy beauty standards that
unrealistic.
And even we see that in, like, our even, like, pop media, and even like artists and stuff. Like I saw something over there that was like saying like, Chappell Roan is the new Lady Gaga and Lady Gaga's over and all this and that, just because she's like 40 or about to be 40 or something like that. I'm like, damn, like that's so stupid to like be like knocking people out.
But then like Aerosmith
and guys can rock out till they're like 90
and like dying,
and they're rock stars,
Frankie Valli's like an animatronic on stage while performing.
Dude, who is it? Al Pacino or whatever. What's his name can have a baby at like 80 and it's still cool, and like we're all like, yeah, but if like
40 had a kid, they'd be like too old.
Yeah, she's crazy. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
and the like stereotypes that are like put into women from such a young age. Like I remember just going back to like the media and stuff. I always had larger hips, and like a big butt. And growing up in the early 2000s, that was not the look.
Yeah.
And
It's like more
it
model
was,
thin.
yeah. And like, I remember being called
just horrible
like,
stuff.
Yeah. Being told I look like a Christmas tree or being called Hips Ahoy.
Hips Ahoy.
Hips
Kids
Ahoy.
are like so vicious.
This actually was from a parental figure.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But then like I remember getting, this is like terrible too, but like I got like tackled by a group of young boys once, and they like pulled up my shirt and they went, "Ew, she's fat," and like I wasn't even like fat.
Yeah.
At the time, like I mean, I was 13.
Yeah.
Like, like you're not.
That's
even
so
like,
mean.
And it sticks with you.
It does.
Yeah.
Like you remember it vividly to this day, these little comments. So like,
and that's why like recently as I've gained weight, because I have gained like 20 pounds in the last 6 months, which has been like wildly drastic for my body and like my psyche and stuff. Like I can't like look at myself and think, wow, she's so beautiful. Even though like I know like when I'm 50, I'm going to appreciate my 30-year-old body.
Yeah.
And like, but it's so hard to like, you know, think about it now because all my life I've been told like, if you look this way, you are like not valued.
You're valued less, or this is more appealing than what this is.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's
detrimental.
Yeah. And it like really, I don't know, I resonated watching this, and that was why I was like, would I do this? Yeah, probably.
yeah, I think a lot of people would.
Yeah. If I could go back to my 25-year-old self, like I peaked.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also too, we live in a society where it's like there's a lot of value placed on materialistic things and your beauty and like, or what beauty is, you know, essentially, because it really is in the eye of the beholder at the end of the day. But like what you should look like, and like especially even like money and all that getting tied into it, and what that can get you and what people can do, because it's almost giving like Hunger Games, right? Where it's like at one point like society will get to a point where people just have so much wealth that they just like start changing themselves drastically, you know? But it's it is like I have a niece, and she's only 11, she's turned 11, but she from a young age already, she's, you know, she's she loves to have her tortillas and beans, and you know, and she's just a little, you know, she's a little rounder, and she's just like been made fun of at school, and it just really sucks to have like your like literally 8-9-year-old niece already being like, I want to change my body, like I'm not happy, and I'm like, dude, you were like so young, you're don't need to be thinking about this.
Child.
Yeah, it's so sad, like and it's, to hear them have to talk about that, and I'm just like, oh, it breaks your heart.
Yeah, it's definitely starting younger now because like social media and everything.
Instagram, all of that. They see like people, and it's not even like half of the time, like that's probably AI. Like, it's not even a real person. Yeah.
I feel like I didn't start being insecure until like, because social media wasn't around. I think Instagram happened like my last year of high school.
Yeah.
And before that, it's just like people bullying you in person. But now it's like not even bullying. It's just now seeing people that you're comparing yourself to.
Yeah.
And
it's wild. And this movie opened up a whole lot of cans of worms in my brain.
Yeah. A lot of conversation. And that's why I mean, like, even from the go, like this movie, like I said, it's very thought provoking because it does bring out a whole, like, would you do it? Would you not? And then all the conversation around, like, how did we get here? And how this movie even is a reflection on how you're feeling today and how you're feeling even now as an adult.
Not even as like a 50-year-old.
Yeah, just like at this age, but even how like
I kind of felt like how Sue did at the end when her life started falling apart and like her body was literally falling apart, and she was like, I need a younger,
better version of
me. And I was like, damn.
Hitting.
But I was like, same. But
we have all of that happening. We'll bring it back in. Yeah, we have her over eavesdropping and all that, right? Of course. And then that's whenever we have it cut to then the movie is broken up into like 3 sections where we have Elizabeth, Sue, and then Monstoro. Eliza
Alyssa
Sue.
Sue.
My favorite one, I think.
Alyssa
Yeah,
Sue.
the best character.
And so I really wasn't expecting that, to be honest, as well.
Yeah.
Like I knew the movie was long, but there were like right before that moment, I was like, okay, this seems like it's gonna be over, right? Or it's coming to a close in the next 10-ish or 15.
Yeah.
And then it was like, no, next fifth quarter.
Yeah.
But
It went into overtime.
literally. And so we start with Elizabeth, and she's having a meeting with Harvey, and they're at the scene where he's, eating, what are those prawns, like shrimp and
Yeah,
stuff?
shrimpy
Yeah,
looking
shrimp or
things.
something.
Oh, and it's so grotesque the way he's eating.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously on purpose, right? Because we're meant to see like how just he has no care for anything but just like indulgence and
Yeah.
being gross.
It very
Yeah.
much reminded me of the scene from Lord of the Rings,
Mhm.
whenever the king of what
Oh.
is during Pippin's song, but
First one, I can't help you. I'm sorry. I've only seen
I don't
one.
know which one you're talking about.
it's something with a G. He's like the king of
Gondor,
Yeah, maybe Gondor.
maybe.
And he's like eating and he's got like the cherries like dripping it's like cherry tomatoes, and he's got like all this stuff, and it's just zoomed in on his face, and he's like
Yeah.
eating so grotesquely, and this reminded me very much of that scene. And I was like, ew, because that was a scene that stuck with me since I was a little kid,
Mhm.
of just like, that is disgusting, and
Yeah.
all he's doing is eating.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think anybody eating like that, even if we were to watch someone eating
It's
like
like
in real life,
ravenous.
we'd be like, whoa, bro, chill
Yeah.
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like the way he's eating, this is one of the notes I took, and his shoes, like he's wearing metal heeled shoes. He's such like, he takes up so much, like not physical space, but like,
Mhm.
what's that, like to take up, like to just be so obnoxious and not even
Yes.
realize
Oh, yeah.
they're doing it.
People
Because-
like that in real life.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he just has no care for how he's perceived, because he just like has gone through life so effortlessly that
Mhm.
he's like, my shoes can be loud and I can eat like this and just be so obnoxious with
Even-
no repercussions.
Even his
Yeah.
wardrobe to add into that.
Yeah,
his
yeah,
suits,
so-
very
Wow.
over the top. Yeah.
He gave that, and then even like I loved how they would show her like in just her kind of like visceral, like just kind of like obvious reaction on her face, and he has no like, he's just
Yeah.
like whatever, like
He's
he
in
don't-
his own world.
Yeah, because she's obviously like, this is so gross, like that, what are you doing, like, subtly, but you can tell. And then he's just basically telling her that her career is over, essentially.
It all stops at 50 or something like
Yeah,
that.
and then gives her like nothing else, because I guess he feels awkward about the situation, and then turns to his whatever colleague is there,
Yeah.
and goes and leaves her there. So really just showing like his out of negligence, not even that, like his like non-care for her at all or whatsoever. Like he used her, basically like the metaphor for the industry, like he used her up and he was done with her, and he was like, all right, bye, like that's good.
Threw her away.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we get to see her driving home, and she's sees the billboard getting like
Ripped down.
ripped down.
And it causes her to be not paying attention to the road. And unfortunately, I'm surprised she was in a bad car accident. And
Without a
whenever
scratch.
they said, like, you walk, like, not a hair on your molar is, like, messed up. And she was like, I mean, she was obviously mentally not okay.
Yeah.
But, like, I was like, how in the hell is she okay? She got hit head on. Or not head on, but, like, on her
T-bone.
driver's side. Yeah,
Yeah.
T-bone.
Mhm.
I was like, damn.
She's really lucky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That scene for me was really like kind of triggering, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But-
bet.
But
Josh has been in many a car accident.
Oh, geez.
so it was just kind of like body like memory. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it made me cringe. But I've kind of like felt like related in that situation, because I was like, oh, I've been in that same situation where people are telling me like you should be dead, and I'm like, yeah, that
Thanks.
yeah, it's like it's like relieving, but then it's kind of like it's cringe at the same time, because it's like
Yeah.
I almost died, like I don't know, like it just really like makes you like I don't know, my own mortality has been challenged a few times,
Yeah.
and so it's like, oh yeah, I could die, and then like there's nothing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It
There
is-
could be
So-
something.
it
I
is
don't know, but
terrifying.
yeah, but
You can
Yeah.
haunt me.
I'll haunt you. Thank
Okay.
you. I have unfinished business, and it's with Caitlin. So
Yay.
I'm writing
You
that
can
now.
get into one of the dolls she has.
Yeah.
You
Oh
can be a little doll.
It would be a lovely little host
Ooh.
for you.
Ooh, wait. I want to.
Beatrice is already claimed by some sort of ghost.
We
And
need to
then
go
I'm pretty sure
antique
Annabelle
shopping.
and
I want to procure one already.
Okay.
Like a specific one just for me.
I'll name it Josh.
Yeah.
But then I don't want to
No,
invite it.
I want it to have a different name, actually. I
Okay.
want to live like a whole different life, but through the doll.
Through the doll.
Yeah.
Well,
Not,
don't.
but wait,
Let's
not
not
for a
play
while.
that.
Not for a while. And so she's obviously right. And I love how the doctor is just like, my wife loves you. All right, you're good to go.
Oh, it's your birthday.
Oh, it's your
Happy-
birthday.
And then she just starts sobbing.
And then he's just like, peace out.
I gotta go.
I
yeah,
gotta
he's
go.
like, oh, whoops.
Gotta check on the other patients.
He like touches his pager and he's like, oh, it's an emergency.
Also, what is it with most horror movies and their hospitals being dimly lit? Every hospital, and I've been to a lot of hospital rooms, they're bright as
They're
fuck.
bright as fuck, yeah.
Literally.
One light on.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, like we mentioned that and when we covered like all of the Halloweens.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like,
especially the one
Why are there no employees? Why is it so
Yeah.
dark?
and Scream.
Yeah, literally. Same
Yeah.
There's
thing.
never an employee in the hospital.
No.
There's like one guard, they get killed, and then it's an empty hospital.
Literally.
It's like I've
Every-
been
every-
to hospitals
Happy
late
Death
at
Day.
night and they're packed still.
Every hospital I've been to, you can't even walk somewhere without someone being like, oh, where are you supposed to be? Oh, who are you here to see? Or where are you going? Or yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know. But yeah, she's obviously had a time, and this one blue-eyed nurse, I guess, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna check you out. Let me look at your back. And she's like, oh, I thought the doctor said I was done. And he's like, I'm just, checking something. And he looks at her spine and he's like, oh yeah, you would be a good candidate.
Yeah, you're the perfect candidate.
And she's like, what? And he's like, I didn't say a thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, you're good to go.
And he was looking too perfect too.
Oh yeah.
From the
He was,
get,
like,
I was like, this man is
Kelly.
like a model.
No,
What's he doing
he's been
being
on
a nurse?
another movie I watched called Upgrade, which he played kind of a oddly similar weird character, but was like bleached, like white blonde hair with those blue
Platinum.
eyes. Yeah. But yeah, it totally gave like a Valentino like model or like whatever. He was like bronze too as well.
Yeah.
And she leaves the doctor's office and then runs into that dude, right?
Ted,
Ted.
I think.
Yeah.
Fred.
Oh, but I'm sorry.
Fred.
Skipped over her. She found in her purse that he gave her the USB.
Yeah, because he
Mhm.
handed her coat back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing in that moment he slipped something into her pocket because once she got outside and shoved her hands in her pocket because it was cold, she found this USB in there and it was titled "The Substance" with a little note that said it
changed my life.
Changed my life. And I was like, ooh, that's not always a good thing.
Yeah, not necessarily positive or negative. I need more clarification
Yeah.
on how it changed her life, to be honest. But then she runs into Fred, yes, and he's totally giving like not stalker vibes, but like dude who's way into her more than he should be because we just interacted for like 30 seconds and I don't know you.
Yeah.
Vibe. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he probably like has lived his whole life being like, oh my God, I went to school with Elizabeth Sparkle.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then her being like, oh, this was a blip and I don't remember you because I had so much happen after.
Between that and now.
Yeah. But he's probably revolved his whole life and like had been waiting for this moment the whole time, like to just bump into her again.
Who's your Elizabeth Sparkle, Caitlin?
Did I go to school with it? I've never been to any. The only famous person I met is Kirsten Dunst.
I'm like your mom.
That's
Yeah.
a big famous person to meet, though.
Yeah, we both
Yeah.
have met her. She, because Jesse Plemons is from Marlin,
One
right
of those.
outside of Waco.
Oh, cool.
And so they come to Waco during the holidays and they end up at the same bars that we go to.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. So you didn't meet her at like a event. You
No.
just, like, saw
Yeah, we just
her.
met her
That's
drinking.
so cool.
And then
Oh.
I was so embarrassed, and I'm still so embarrassed to this day. But I didn't really know Jesse Plemons at the time, and I took a photo of Kirsten Dunst, and then I looked at Jesse Plemons, shook his hand, and I go, I've heard you've done great things.
I don't know that, but I heard.
I've heard you've done
Aw.
great things. And then he probably was like, this bitch.
No, I think I think one.
I'm so embarrassed. I was drunk. I was drunk in my defense.
Yeah.
No, and I think two things also in meeting them and like being a table that was next to them and kind of like hearing their interactions with who they were with, like he seems like a humble person, like a real chill dude. And that being number one. And two, whenever I asked to take a picture with like them, like I literally was like, can I get a picture with I was like, can I get a picture with y'all? And then he was just like, oh, like you want me to be in it? Like he was like that. And I was like, no, yeah, like both of y'all. Like, and he was like, oh, okay. Like he was expecting totally, I think, for just me to be like, I want a picture with her.
Kirsten.
Yeah. And then he was just like, oh yeah, no, I'll be in it. That's cool. And then, yeah. So I think he's just maybe probably used to that.
Yeah.
And then also just probably.
But now I've seen so many films with Jesse Plemons in it.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? I've been thinking of ending things. So it was
I was
probably
just going to say that one
of my favorite ones with him in it. And then I know he did
it's a really good like drama actor.
bigger drama series.
Like Fargo. And
yeah.
then he was on
there's a big movie.
The new movie Civil War, he had a little cameo in, a little bit in. And then
he was in that Black Mirror episode too.
Oh yeah. He's so talented.
Yeah.
And I just like still to this day kick myself over like saying such an ignorant thing to him. Because I'm like,
you just have to keep going back to that bar and hope you run into
hope
it.
one day be like,
We'll see
hey,
him again.
like 4 years ago I accidentally insulted you.
He's gonna be like, this bitch.
I remember.
Like
who knows? Maybe he left and he was like, I have done some pretty great things, haven't I? He's like, wow, that was so sweet.
Dude, you inspired him to do even greater things.
And then now he's, famous.
Everything he does is to impress you now.
He's like, I hope that one bitch is watching.
Yeah.
Every time he does a role, he
This
wakes
is
up in the
very-
morning, like fixes his tie, and he's like, this bitch. She's going to learn today what great things I've done.
Literally, dude, wins an Oscar, and he's like, oh yeah, that one bitch at the bar
This is for you.
who said I did great things. Suck
Look
it.
at me now.
You want a picture with me now? Oh my gosh.
Anyways, she finds the flash drive in her pocket and
then meets Fred. And he's like, can I give you my number? And then writes his number on this thing and then drops it in the paper. And then
Write it on a new piece of paper.
Right.
Why did you get her the wet one?
yeah, I was like, she's not even going to be able to read that. And like, what is she supposed to do with this muddy, wet piece of paper?
Yeah.
Like, ew.
I think it was supposed to I think everything was a very like heightened like version of what like even him being like a kind of creepy dude is. But like, yeah, the fact that he was unaware and also just like, yeah, take it. Okay, cool.
Here you go.
You're going to call me, right? I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was really something to see and kind of cringe and really awkward. And she's just like, she handled it with such grace, to be honest, as well.
Yeah,
she did.
Just like, I don't even remember how she like turned him down-ish, but she's just like really deflects.
She didn't really get an opportunity to.
Right?
He kind of spoke over her.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, call me. And she was like,
yeah, okay.
messes with her hair. And she's just like, okay. He didn't give her an opportunity to speak, really.
No. Which most guys, I guess, do they? Do they not? I don't know.
Oh, the many a times I have been spoken over in conversation.
Yeah.
But she goes back home. She gets her apartment, which is beautiful, gorgeous apartment.
Oh, I know.
So cool. And she is kind of she looks at the USB, she plugs it in, I think, and then that's when we get like the video and it's like the substance and it's like a drill noise.
Yeah.
And then we get the it's like I don't know.
Have you ever dreamt to be a better version of yourself?
Yeah. What do you call that? What is that even? It's just like a little, I don't even know.
I don't know.
I don't know what I'm trying to say exactly. Okay. No, the video itself, it's just so
like a commercial or something.
Yeah, it's just so like, I don't know what to call it, but the essence of it is just giving me like, I don't know, like rave, but without the music. Like it almost felt like itself was a drug, like just the little video clip itself, if that made sense. Or like, have y'all seen the cat Brain Rot? Like that's what it's giving me. Like,
I'm thinking of the VHS with like Ratma.
Yeah.
Whichever VHS 94 or 84, whichever one it is with the veggie smashing commercial.
Okay, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or that's
I
what
love that
is giving
commercial.
me those kind of vibes.
It just makes you like uncomfortable
Yes.
enough.
Ooh.
Puts you on edge.
Very much that. And she's watching it and then doesn't really think too much of it, or maybe thinks this is just like, well, that's trash, whatever this is, what the fuck is that? And then throws it away, the USB, and then she decides to go to the bar and have like 4 martinis.
Yeah.
A lot.
She drank a whole lot.
Yeah, I can't drink 1 martini. Those are strong.
Ugh.
They're
Yeah.
gross. But he drinks those and then is obviously having a moment where she's like retching, throwing all that back up.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure she's probably drunky because she goes into the trash. And I actually really enjoyed the scene of like her digging in the trash from the bottom up, because it just also shows like the level of like, I want to say like level of like craftsmanship that like the cinematographer and director had together to come up with. Like, we're not just going to film her going and grab it from the trash.
Picking it
We're
out of
going
the
to
trash.
do it
Yeah.
from the bottom. Like, it's just so cool. And so she grabs it and then she ends up calling the number that's on the USB.
Yep. She calls and she orders, and it's a very curt conversation. Like, basically it says like hello, and she's like, I'd like to place an order. And then she is like, they're like, okay, what's your address? And she says her address, and then he's like, write this down. 35 North something.
Alley. Something
Street.
alley. Yeah.
And then he just click, hangs up. All the conversations with this being is like all very curt and very like not helpful.
Oh, and also I just thought of it. Like, I don't know why. What was up with the times too where we were hearing the voice and there was no phone call? Like, were they in her head? What was that?
Oh yeah.
What was that? Like, was it the medicine, like the substance in her,
Maybe making her go crazy,
or was she, I don't know.
Maybe like her internal thoughts started relaying like the mantra.
Yeah, exactly. Like what, and also like at a certain point I was asking me like, wait, is that real, or is that like her, like you said, just making that up in her own head and she's just hearing that? Or is it like, I'm like
her conscience is like battling and is now taking on the voice of this. Right.
That, or was it like somehow like whoever, because we also, it's like we need a whole other movie that like has to explain like the background of who made the substance, what is the substance, what's going on here. Like maybe they also find a way like through injecting themselves, maybe through that green stuff, I don't know, like they're able to like
the activator.
Yeah, they're able to like mess with her mind neurologically.
Unlock a like
or like somewhere in a computer somewhere they're like, yeah, say that. Oh yeah, Brad, fuck with her this way. Yeah, it's just also some men fucking with women all over it, I don't know. And so it's the next day and she gets her mail, right?
Yeah, she showers and I was like, oh, a
lot of shower scenes in this movie.
There goes the address is what I was thinking.
Me too. I was.
Because she wrote it on her hand, and then she finds
to write it too. Why not like on the back?
Yeah, like I thought it was for sure gone because like whenever you're lathering and stuff, like that's just getting all on the inside of your hand.
Guys, I didn't see one shampoo bottle in there, so she was just using water. That's it.
She's a natural girly.
Must be an LA thing.
Yeah.
Granola.
Just stand there, lay on the shower.
Hot water. It's just for vibes, honestly. It's just for vibes. But she's like after the shower, she's I think there's like a maid vacuuming and she's reading the newspaper.
Yeah.
Looking at there's like unfortunately like a job classified type of thing for a new Elizabeth Sparkle.
Yeah.
And obviously she's like, well, shit. And then she looks at the mail and she has the little thing and it's like a little black bag. She opens it up and it has her number and it says 503.
Yeah, and that's all that's really in there. And then that prompts her to look at her hand and be like, oh, yeah, that's right. And thankfully it's still there enough. And she like goes to the address. And this address is very
shady.
I would not want to walk in there. I'd be like, this is how you die.
Yeah.
I was expecting like, because it reminded me a lot of like Terrifier. And I was like,
Oh,
Art's
yeah.
going to pop out and he's going to start hacking her up.
No, yeah, I was watching it with Jaden, and I was just like, "Would you walk into there?" And he was just like, "No, hell no, I wouldn't
Hell
walk in
no.
there." Like,
Especially when the door stops.
yeah,
Yeah.
even and
If I
she
could
has,
dunk, I'm not going.
yeah, and she has to like crouch. But even the fact
Yeah.
that like even when you walk in, like it literally says extermination, like it has an extermination
Yeah.
sign right there, and
Mhm.
I'm like, that's not very like good vibes. But I was like, you know what? I would like call a friend
And be like, walk in here with me.
and no, I would just be like, hey, I'm gonna start sharing my location with you, and like I'm gonna walk here. This is the address, and if you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
hear from me in like an hour, send help. Basically,
Call the police. Yeah.
I don't know. I might go just to check it out. But what she does, she walks in, she starts to go in there, and it's very spooky vibes. It's like you obviously know. Like I was thinking, I thought she was gonna walk. I thought someone was waiting, like was gonna be there. I thought it was gonna be like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just.
I know. I was definitely waiting for some sort of jump.
Yeah, it's just like a white room, like essentially.
Yeah, and it's pristine as
Mhm.
compared to like the hallway and stuff that she just walked through. And
Mhm.
it's filled with lockers, and she finds her number. And we also see that there's another number, 207, I
Mhm.
believe,
Yeah,
on there. And
because that'll
she-
come back later.
yeah, she unlocks hers, 503, with the key card as well. And there's a giant box inside of it. And we get home,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, we're back at home, and it's just like on the table there, and then that's whenever she starts to open it, and we see that there's like a number 1, and it's got the activator. There's activation, and then level number 2 is the stabilizer,
Mhm.
and then number 3 we have the switch. And so and then she gets to the very bottom, and we have kind of like a little pamphlet. It's very Apple. It's very like, minimalistic. We're not giving you much. I was like, I need like I need a
Detail.
QR code with the YouTube video of like how I'm
Yeah.
going to do this.
Oh yeah, she figured it out so quickly.
And
That-
which is, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I was saying like I think it was the director or someone was asked at what point, if this was you, would you have stopped? And she said the building would have stopped her, like seeing the address.
Yeah.
I feel like also opening that box, seeing everything I have to do, I'm like, no, I can't figure that
Same,
out. I'm
right?
not injecting
It's
myself.
Too many
like every
steps.
time I open a card game or like any sort of board game, and it's like, here's all the rules. And I'm like, we're going to make our
No.
own way how to play
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And totally throw it out.
Been
Because
playing
I
life.
would have stopped because I have like little tiny baby veins where like trained nurses, and
Have a
like
hard time.
hardcore, like even ones that are like, I can stick anyone, or like cannot
Damn.
stick my arms.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I would have stopped there.
Yeah.
Like having to do it myself
Yeah, I can see that.
whenever
Also, is
she
it
like,
free?
sorry.
Like, is this a free thing? Does she pay?
No,
there's
no-
she did not. Right. Also,
I feel like
too,
that also I would have stopped. Why are you just letting me do
I
this?
think you pay
Why-
with your life in
literally.
the
Yeah.
end of it. Yeah.
But
It's like what are they gaining?
essentially
Yeah.
that's the thing too, because there's too many unanswered questions, right? And there's too many for me it might have been looking at like the green activator, like that itself, because like I kind of would have been like, maybe I'd be okay with putting something in me, but like the vial, like that stuff just looked toxic.
Yeah.
If
I
it was
don't-
clear.
Yeah. If it was like something that looked like something else that maybe like I'd seen, yeah, right. If it was clear, I don't know. Like, but the fact that it was just green and looked literally like toxic waste.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about shooting like
Yeah.
Logan Paul's prime in my body.
Yeah.
And
It
so,
literally looked like what's that one thing? Radiator fluid.
yeah, for sure. Or that type of green fluid that's in those little things that like lets you know like with the little air bubble.
A level.
A
Yeah.
A leveler. A leveler. Yeah. Okay. A level. I can't talk. I'm sorry. And so yeah, she's looking at everything, right? She gets that little pamphlet, and then it says like you activate only once, you stabilize every day, and that you have to switch every 7 days without exception.
Good.
And then remember, you are one.
Which I guess is essentially the key to it, because we find out what happens when you don't remember that you are one.
Yeah.
And she goes to it really fast, like you said, and goes into the
It figures it
restroom,
out.
right? And starts like to do it. Is that what it is?
Yeah. My next note was, wow, her nipples are huge.
Yeah, because she's in the restroom, and then we have like, I think they have the aerial shot. I think is what it is, and then we see her like from that angle.
Well,
first.
it pans down her body.
Yeah,
and I was like,
which I wonder if I feel like that probably was Demi Moore's body. Like probably, I know just because I was watching a little video beforehand, like on a YouTube short type of thing. And it was an interview with Margaret Qualley, and her like boobs, like there weren't her boobs. They were prosthetics.
I love that.
They were made by like a French prosthetic person. And I was just like, could fool me because looked like her boobs.
I thought it was her boobs. I was like,
I just love that they looked at her and they're like, just like, it's almost like the male gaze just like circled back on itself, where it's like, Margaret Qualley's very beautiful, but what if we just made her like so ridiculous that like it's almost a cartoon version of what the male gaze is?
Yeah, like an anime.
Yeah, just like so over the top,
gigantic boobies.
Which is funny too, because it's like even like the movie in itself, it's meta. It's very meta, right? Because it's like then like even creating this, they had to give her even better fake boobs than what she just had naturally, you know. And then I'm sure, I don't know how she felt about like nudity within that.
Yeah, but maybe it was because she didn't feel
didn't
comfortable
want her
being
boobs
nude.
out. But speaking of butt, that was her butt though.
Demi Moore's.
Both of them. It was it was their butts and stuff. And they were speaking in the same interview how like they both were like, it's hard, it's funny and ironic making a movie like this about like, you know, like you're talking about how like the male gaze and everything on the female body, because as they're making the movie, they were like, we were like, she with Margaret was like, like obviously there's close-ups on my ass all day, so I'm like conscious of like, how is my butt looking, you know? How does everything, you know? So it's just kind of like, it's very meta and very ironic that like the same thing that they're commenting on is like they're still having to like almost perpetuate it while making the movie, like, you know. But yeah, she's in the restroom and she's starting to do the process of getting the activation, and I think for her, she's gotten really to a place because like she's lost her job, and then they're all telling her they're all telling her that she's like washed up and she's, you know, has been she's not hot anymore. She's just like ready to dive in, and so she injects herself, and I think for a quick moment she's just like, oh, that didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden, like, it's like, whoa. Yeah,
and then she starts writhing, and oh God, every time her or Sue hit the floor, it's so hard sounding. I was just like, I have an issue with like people's faces being smashed in. Which was
reasonably.
And so like the idea of a cheekbone like breaking. And every time they hit the floor, I was like, "Oh, they're gonna be so hurt." And
it really got to a point for me where I was just like, "Why don't we do this lying down on the floor? We know what's gonna happen." Like I don't know,
or like lay each other on like a blanket or a towel. They totally disrespect each other the whole time.
They do.
And it's really from the get-go. Like even like the first like weekend, and the younger version is like, I need more time, and like steals from her immediately. Like I'm just like, dang, we were only 1 weekend and it's already like the balance is getting like, you know, distorted. But
I think that could be a like commentary on how women often can pit one another against each other, and like think, you know, one or so is better because we've been like, again, as a society, like trained to
Katy Perry versus Lady Gaga, Beyonce versus this, with Martha Stewart versus Rachel Ray, like everything, like, you know what I mean? It comes down to every little thing where women, you're either hotter than her or not, or it's really sad.
And like, you know, like even no one's like not guilty of it. Like, I mean, I know I've been guilty of it.
You compare.
Like I compare myself. I'm not like
or we get
actively trying to like hurt the other person, but I'll be like, ooh, I know I'm not as pretty as her, so I better like bring up my A game.
Or it's natural in us to be competitive too. I think women, because also the society too, it makes y'all have to be competitive with each other because you're having to fight for the same jobs, or fight for the same things, or fight for the same, I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah. And so I think that this was also probably a commentary on that. But yeah, she's like writhing in pain. And then my notes say, oh, hell no. Because it's like you can just see it moving on her back, which this reminded me of another movie I watched recently where like this one guy, he's like plays everyone in the same town. And he ends up giving birth.
Oh.
And like births, I'll have to ask what the name was because it like traumatized me because I also have a very big fear of pregnancy and like birth. And he literally like it's giving birth like about every time you think it's gonna stop, it just keeps happening. Sorry, I just ruined this movie for both of y'all.
No,
but
it's okay.
I don't even know what it is.
I don't either.
Maybe I'll never tell you. And
all
then,
I know,
so
man
that
gives birth. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he plays
shocked when
every
I'm watching
character in the movie. Like he's morphing. Is that like a changeling?
No, he plays everyone in the town, and it's like it.
Like he changes clothes. Like he's not changing physical appearance.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like throwing on a wave.
Yeah, I was like, oh, hello. Yeah, very like a Norman Bates playing his mom or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. And spooky at the same time. But yeah, no, it's for me too. I probably would have never like, especially when they give her the out later on, you know, and she just waits and waits and waits and doesn't really take it. But like after that one experience, like I don't know, because that's a lot. And then like the fact that like we get to see that like her whole before that we get the whole mind matrix stuff happening. Like we enter this like visual representation, what I felt like was like her like DNA and like mind kind of all splitting and reforming. And then we literally see her back opening up.
The movie is called Men.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's by it's A24. I haven't seen it yet, but I know what you're talking about.
It's fucking wild.
Oh, okay. Is it?
It's good, but
Okay.
but yeah, this like when it was moving in her back, it reminded me of very much of scenes that happen in that film.
Okay.
And yeah, and then once she splits open, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's really
it looks so real.
Graphic.
Yeah. I love body horror, so I loved it.
Really visual. And also this movie, the sounds as well were really it was audibly really well, I don't want to say accurate because I've never seen a body split open like that before. But I feel like that's what it would sound like,
yeah,
though,
they
right?
did a good job.
Yeah.
Their little sound person was like rubbing some tinfoil together and made that sound.
And I feel like they turned up the volume on every noise to 150. Like every little squelch and squish and everything was so loud. I loved it.
Me too.
It was so cool.
It really was, because even I was watching with my boyfriend and he's not a big body horror person or gory stuff. He like is like this, but even in those moments, and he had to walk out towards the end of it because he was looking away, but the sounds, he was like, oh, I can still like hear it. It's like, you can hear everything.
This movie legit made me gag at one point. Whenever she's...
Is it the belly button?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was the pus-filled bag.
Oh,
yeah.
And she, like,
that was probably the grossest.
Yeah, the last part, I was like, huh?
That's really good because also
coming out with chunks.
Yeah, I was actually physically gagging. I thought I was gonna have to go throw up.
Well, and because you know how rank that room probably smells with all of that, and when
she's gagging while doing it. But,
and that was what it was like triggering my gag reflex, and I was like, oh, yikes!
No
but
thanks.
She basically
opens up,
and this little. Bloop, pops out of her, and then we get like the basically from the point of view of this other self, and it sees that Demi Moore's body, Miss Elizabeth, is just there lying with like her back split open and blood everywhere. And she gets up to the mirror, and we have Rachel Qualley's character, and it's we don't have a name yet, but she becomes Margaret, my bad, not Rachel, Margaret Qualley, and she is she's feeling herself
very much off the get-go. She's like, oh, this is good, this is nice,
which like I would be too,
right? Looks into her eye, and we can see that there's like this green, like I guess the substance, the activator stuff, just kind of like reflecting in there, and then looks back at her body, and then this is the parts where I was like, maybe there was like, I didn't know if it was like inherently known once she injected herself, or like maybe it's just the part we didn't see where she did watch a video somehow, because she kind of just knew immediately and kind of naturally what to do.
Well, I feel like Demi Moore's consciousness, Elizabeth's consciousness, was like partly in her.
Right? Just like.
So I think that she knew everything to do from what like Elizabeth had previously seen.
Like read and the stuff.
Yeah.
That was like the hard part I was having my like head wrap around, was they like should have the same brain technically, like, but their memories aren't the same because the other one doesn't know what they're doing on the 7 days.
Yeah.
But they both know how to do the substance. They're technically the same person. So like
It's
that
like they
is
were choosing.
Yeah, like
What
it was
not
hard for me to
remember.
remember that they are one. So I'm glad that that entity kept saying it out
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah. No, same, because I was getting in trouble the same way, and like knowing where the lines were being drawn or not, and also how much they resented each other, like, and they were almost like because Elizabeth, it seemed, almost resented, Sue's like youth and like how hot she was, and that's why she was just like, I'm just gonna just plunge this body into like whatever and eat whatever it wants and fuck you, whatever. Because even then later on, she has that chicken wing thing come out of Sue's belly button. So yeah, we have all that, but yeah, Sue comes out and then she starts to suture Elizabeth's body up on the back, and then she just kind of leaves her there, and then she starts to get her nosebleed and earache situation, and then she remembers that she has to stabilize herself, and so she gets the spinal fluid from Elizabeth, and then stabilizes herself. And
man, they really showed every ounce of her like stitching her up, and I was like, oh. It was
the close-up shots and
gnarly.
everything. Yeah,
I was just like, damn.
And it was really thick, like a thread. I don't know what that suture stuff. I don't know what you call it.
I guess it had to have been with how
wide and how open her back was.
Yeah.
Well, even later on when Elizabeth wakes up and I'm like, oh, please take it easy. Like any bad wrong move and you're just gonna like bust through that. Yeah, you gotta open up. And so she is now, I guess, in her new body, and she looks at the audition in the newspaper ad, whatever, again, and then she goes to the audition. And then we cut to the big screen saying Sue. And so now I guess we are going to be focusing on Sue's part of the storyline.
Oh, and we forgot to mention that we got a title card during the substance whenever she watched that video, which I really liked. Like
I love a delayed title card.
Yeah, like Fresh. And
Fresh. Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah.
Later into the movie.
Whenever it just like comes in, like even 10, 15 minutes later, it's like, ooh, that's nice.
Fresh was like 30 minutes into the movie or something like that. Fresh was really late.
Fresh was really late. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, we didn't get a title card.
Me like,
yeah.
Really. It was really good though. It's a good use of the title card and a good use of like throwing the audience, because even with Fresh, it's like you think it's a whole different movie until you get to that point and you're like, oh shit, this really took a turn.
Yeah.
And then like in this too, I really thought it was so smart and creative that it's not only just a title card, it is a part of a visual representation of like the move, like that video thing, the
what
clip
she was watching.
So it was really cool to like use it within the movie you know. But yeah, like we get that title card, and then we get Sue's big like name on the screen, and she has a meeting with Harvey.
She says, I'm Sue.
I love that. I love when they ask her name. It's just like Sue. Like it's so like.
I was not expecting that name.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Same.
I was like, out of all the names, Sue.
Yeah.
Same. And I loved how it's just Sue. Like there's no like last name. It's very like just Adele. Like I'm Sue.
I'm Sue.
Yeah. And then he gives her the job because she's exactly what they've been looking for.
Yeah. And he, the whole time, like I commented on how much of a creep he's playing here, just like, and you can tell with Sue's like body reactions to him too. Like he always like kind of reaches for her and then she recoils a bit. And it's like, ugh, God, it's such a like, just what older men are actually like.
Yeah.
Like some older men are just nasty.
Yeah. Like they don't know boundaries, or they kind of feel like
When I waited tables and I was 19,
Mhm.
I had this one man look at me and he goes, I could bounce a quarter off that ass. And I was like, what
Oh
the
my
fuck?
God.
I'm 19 and you're like
And they just think you can
55.
say,
Yeah. And he
Yeah.
just like was like, this is the most normal thing I could say to you. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Some people be like that, unfortunately. And so she gets the job, and then this is where she also has to say, she's like, hey, but by the way, there's scheduling conflicts. Like every other week I have to like go because I have to take care of my sick mom.
Mhm.
And he like gets in her face and he's like, whatever, sick mother, brother, whatever you need, like
Little puppy.
we will work around your schedule because you are who we want for the job.
We want you.
And so then we kind of really quickly go through like her going through her week, and we see like her in the new job, and
She's just having the time of her life.
yeah, just living it up and we see that every day she's using the little what do you call those little notches, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of
Yeah.
the
Spinal fluid
stabilizer.
stabilizer, yeah.
And then it comes time to need a switch, and she makes her switch, right? Because she doesn't overdo it yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
has to switch
I don't
back.
think she'd overdose it the first time.
Wait, say that one more time.
Oh, I don't think she overdoes it the
Oh,
first
okay.
time.
Yeah.
I remember it's the second time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she switches back, and then that's whenever, she comes to, Elizabeth comes to, and she's like obviously in a lot of pain because her
Yes.
fucking back was like split open.
Yeah.
And is just kind of coming back to and getting back to life. She's eating.
She's like ravenous.
Yeah.
When she wakes up, she was like, food.
Needs to go back to the office, and this is whenever she runs into Mr. Harvey again, and he's like all the way at the end of the hallway, and they've already taken down all of her posters,
pictures,
all the
yeah.
pictures. And he comes and he's like, oh, there you are, and he hands her her box of like them obviously clearing her stuff out, and he was like, we wanted to all wish you, a farewell, and we got you a little gift. And makes a little he's like, it's French, my wife loves it. And then that's whenever,
And he was like, I love my wife. And I was like, oh.
yeah, right. And then he just walks away being obnoxious, and then she needs to go pick up her refill kit.
Yeah. And she's just like barely existing in her own body.
Yeah.
And then she gets the refill kit, and it's basically time for them to switch back. And every time we're in Sue's eyes, life just looks so much more glamorous. And like, because every time that we're with Elizabeth, she is very like downtrodden and
She's giving to like depression, and
Yeah.
like she's like really like, she also sees like the success that Sue is having, and just like she's almost like feeling all the things. I mean, she's jealous, she's remorseful, she's like, oh, like it's like her but not her, you know.
She's
And
like,
then-
I gave you all this.
Literally, like she's resentful, and then she's just kind of then resorting to just like, I think, just indulging in like all of her like, well, I'm just gonna eat what I want, and I'm just gonna be lounge around and watch TV all day and kind of sulk, essentially.
Yeah, I have no purpose anymore.
Mhm.
My purpose is Sue.
Yeah, that's true.
I saw a lot of like discourse on TikTok, and I saw Spooky Astronauts on YouTube talk about it. That like the obsession with food and the eating and stuff kind of like parallels a lot of how maybe if we don't feel a lot of control in our lives, the one thing we can control is like food and eating and how we eat stuff, and like kind of like the disordered aspect of it. And it's like to the 10th degree of Elizabeth just spiraling out of control, and just the food is such a like regular thing in her 7 days that she can control what she's eating.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really, and then like later Sue being like the control yourself, like that thing. It's like about losing control for both of them. And I just thought that was like cool, because I watched it twice. The first time I watched it, the food to me was just like, she's bored and she's just trying to do something. And then the second time around, I'm like, oh, she's like struggling. She's losing it. And that's like the only thing that she can focus on.
And, like making all the recipes from the cookbook.
Yeah.
And then,
Just like eating a whole chicken. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny too, the like almost like parallel too of how we had the disgusting, now that I'm thinking about it, scene of Harvey eating all the shrimp and being like, and then like we cut to and she's now doing the same thing.
True.
Eating the same way.
Yeah.
Just in a different form, different version of herself. And then yeah, like you said, we are in Sue's body now, and like you said, everything's more glamorous, but also you can tell even the way that she looks at Elizabeth on the floor, she like almost like despises like that part of herself as well. It's like all the ugliness that obviously Elizabeth hates about herself. Like Sue is like, oh, you're pathetic. You're so disgusting, you know? And she starts to make that also. How the fuck is Sue a carpenter?
I know.
Like I was
like, no way she made this whole fucking room in a week.
Flawlessly. Yeah. And like there's no like it's all perfect. And then I'm just like
the like hidden door. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what fucking like project like property management wouldn't be like, who the fuck is like blasting through the walls? Like, yeah. I don't know.
It was wild. But then we get her neighbor banging on the door because of all this renovation that's happening, and he's like ready to be so mad at Elizabeth, but then Sue opens the door and it's like he is like thrown for a loop, and all of a sudden now he's Mr. Nice Guy, and he's like, oh well, like, and it's disgusting like how people can treat you differently based on the way that you look.
Oh yeah, it's giving those memes where it's like in the office sexual harassment. Like it's different if like Tom the hot guy says something, but then like Dave the creepy guy by like the says something. It's just like you can get a pass if you're hot or not. You know what I mean? And it's giving definitely that, where was ready to be a bitch to Elizabeth, and then he's like, oh shit. And it's also gross that he thinks he would even have a shot with her, to be honest. But
I know. I was like, but then he's like, he's stammering and just going on, and then he mentions I got a big hammer, and I was like, oh.
I was like, bro, and he's like, you know what I mean, and I'm like, go home.
Yeah, you put your foot in your mouth.
Go home, Roger, go home. And so she and then I love how she's just kind of like humoring him for a second, but then she just like closes the door on him. And I love how he wouldn't, like, to me, I feel like any other person doing that would probably be like, oh, that's a rude bitch. But he probably walked away like, she likes me. Yeah. You know?
Oh, he definitely.
Yeah, right? Like, she's playing hard to get.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah.
It's just the chase.
And he does come back and ask her out. So
literally. I was like, I would have gotten a hint the first time. But she ends up putting Elizabeth away in this new storage room, hidden, tucked away. And then we cut to her new show, Pump It Up with Sue, and she's like, hi everybody, I'm Sue,
and it's time to pump it up.
And I thought it was actually really like, I was like, that's clever. Okay, Make It Sparkle with Elizabeth Sparkle, and this one's Pump It Up with Sue. I thought it was kind of cute, to be honest.
It was cute.
But then we started watching, what was happening. I'm like, this is not aerobics. This is just like,
this is just twerking.
Yeah, literally. I was like, okay, I love it. I'm here for it. But also, I was just like, obviously, this was made for, the male gaze. Yeah. Like, and so then we have, but it's hard because it's like also like, but then it's like at what lines do we draw the lines of like, no, this is just sex positive and like body positive? Or is this like, no, guys are the ones who are actually paying for this to be made because they want to watch girls like, dance promiscuously. I don't know. Yeah. It's even funny because Margaret was on an interview and she was like, she's a dancer, but she was just like, I never danced like that, and I probably never will again.
Yeah. No, it was obvious she was a dancer with her toe point.
Yeah.
I was like, girls been dancing for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so Sue ends up wanting to stay out late, right? This is where it starts to get. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she's going out when Elizabeth barely has any food left. Yeah. And then she brings a guy back.
Yeah.
And she starts having bad reactions. And then this is where she goes, like, she starts bleeding on him while they're, like, about to, like, get it on. And then she's like, oh, fuck, I need more stabilizer. And then goes to Elizabeth's body and extracts yet another
an extra
one.
day. Yeah.
Extra day, yeah. And definitely, or at least a little bit more time.
Yeah, it sucked too because you're watching like Lizzie on the floor, Elizabeth, and she's just like, and
Yeah,
like,
like,
as she's taking more out of her. And the bag itself too, like it's almost like she was like
crumpling.
when you're breathing into like a plastic bag.
Mhm.
Like, do y'all do that for fun? Like me sometimes, where you put a plastic bag over your head and you're just like for like just 5 seconds, and you're like, okay.
They do that.
But like it's giving those vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then she ends up having to go back. She stabs herself. She goes back out. Yeah, and obviously, like she's just she stole more time for a hookup, essentially.
Yeah, and he's like, what happened? You're even more beautiful than before.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And but then he unzips her, and all this like, it's like her organs just like fall out.
Was that real or not?
I think it was fake.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a big thing that I was talking to my friend about, that like we couldn't tell if that was actually happening or if it was like a dream.
Like
I don't know.
Visual representation.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
maybe no, but she clearly did still the extra time.
Yeah.
Because I was like, because
Yeah.
there was a few moments where like things happen, and then the other person like wakes up. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's almost like that last little blip was just like a dreamscape. And that's what happens here is the organs fall out, and then all of a sudden we're waking up in Elizabeth's body.
Mm-hmm. And she goes to pick up her new her re-up, essentially. And then she goes to the location again, and then this is when she goes into the white room, and then she hears like a voice. She hears the voice.
Yeah,
that we end
and
up hearing.
her hand is now,
The finger.
yeah, her
Mhm.
finger is like aged, and the nail is like yellowed and like about to bust off. It was nasty looking.
Yeah.
Very close.
And it looked like she got bad arthritis in her knuckles.
Mm-hmm. And essentially, and I think she like subconsciously, I feel like already knows like what happened. She obviously was taken advantage of, and Sue took more time. But this is whenever she ends up going to like, because she hears that voice and she freaks out, so she goes to the diner or whatever.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is when she runs into the old man.
Yeah, and she also, she did call the number.
Oh yeah.
Because she was like, excuse
Can we
me,
fix
please
this?"
fix
Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
And they were like, oh, there's no going back, actually. And they were like, respect the balance and you won't have any more inconveniences.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, it's not me, it's her. And they were like, remember, you are one.
Mm-hmm.
And then she, sees the TV show of Sue doing all of her stuff.
Yeah.
And that's when she goes to get the
cookbook, and she's like going through this whole like montage of cooking.
No.
Oh,
This
my
is
bad.
when she goes to get the refill kit.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Yeah, like you were saying. And she hears the voice and then ends up in the diner because she feels like she's being followed.
Mm.
And then turns out she was by the other number 207.
Yeah.
Because she's sitting there, and then he looks at her and he goes, it isn't long, is it? And she's like, what? And he's like, the 7 days. And then I was like, it's the ring.
Literally.
But then she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's going on, and then he spills his like wallet and stuff, and she sees his key card 207 fall out. And
he had the mark on his hand too.
Yeah, he had the same
which he has like
birthmark.
Yeah. And then she has one on her stomach, which I feel is like how we're supposed to remember that they're the same person.
Yeah, because Sue had one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's just like putting the pieces together of like how he's the same person who gave her the little USB. He was the nurse from the little doctor's appointment she had.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts asking her the questions and starts being like, you have to remember like that you matter and that you like exist for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, has she started yet eating away at you? And at this point, she's like running.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, no.
Because she's like, no, everything's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's leaving and running away as fast as she can. And she goes home and she finds Fred's number, and it surprisingly is still legible.
Oh, that bloody piece of paper. Not bloody. Oh my God.
Muddy.
Just covered in blood.
Oh, God. Even worse. More normal. Yeah, she finds it and she gives him a call. And she's basically setting up like a little date with him later on that night at 8. And she is very excited, kind of we're anxious, eagerish to kind of go with him, I guess. And I think she's also trying to like she's going off of as well, like that old man told her, remember that you matter as well. So she's trying to kind of recreate some sort of life for herself in a way.
And goes to see Fred because whenever he bumped into her originally, he's like, still the most beautiful girl in the world. And so she wants to get that feeling back that she is the most beautiful girl in the world and wants to be seen through his eyes kind of thing. But yeah, she starts getting ready and then she starts basically struggling with herself and with Sue's image being out there and is like trying to make herself appear younger. Like she keeps putting on more and more blush and like she looks at Sue's lips at one point and is like goes and puts lip gloss on herself and she's just struggling with this idea that she'll never be as beautiful as Sue is.
Especially because every time that like the billboard and this whole movie there's that big old billboard, of course, of Sue that's right outside the window. So she's
like looking in
constantly like being reminded of just like you said, how much younger, youthful, better, prettier Sue is.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to watch as she's just like just rubbing her face like and just like just like frustrated with herself.
Yeah.
And it's like that moment of like every time you like for me, it's like I cut my own hair. And so like I like will sometimes have moments where I'm like, oh, it's ugly. I just need to like cut more. And then I'm like, fuck, I need to cut more on this side. I'm like, fuck. And then like I'm bald. And I'm like, crap. Yeah. And I'm like, what did I do? Yeah. And it's happened to me quite a few times. So, so it's just very, I think we all can relate with that feeling of looking in the mirror
that scene was rough.
And picking away at yourself and being like, well, I don't like that. Or I don't like that. You know,
it's like going out and seeing your floor just covered in every outfit you tried on because none of them look good and you're just like, I don't even want to go out anymore. I'm already late.
I have nothing to wear.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that scene was just like, I get it.
Yeah, no, I totally felt her in this moment. And she ends up not going out.
Oh, and then the scene of him like messaging her like, hey, are you coming? Oh, excited? Or are you late? Oh, hey, are you okay? And her just there, just like depressed as fuck. And I'm just like, same. Been there.
Yeah, been there. Yeah, it was a rough scene to watch because I feel like every person goes through something like this and ends up having a mental break over their appearance at some point in their life, even if you are like the most gorgeous person. Like you still, no one is happy with themselves. Yeah. Even
I feel like 100%. There's always someone like you're always gonna have something that you're always gonna have to battle something like within yourself. Yeah. Or otherwise you're probably like like a psychopath. Yeah. or a narcissistic person. Like people who are narcissistic. Like, I'm perfect. Yeah. But then all of that's happening and then do we cut back to Sue and now we're back with Sue's life?
Yes, we're back with Sue and this is where
the most glamorous life.
Yeah, she's being super out there having fun, but then she's in the middle of her little dancey dance when she bends over and all of a sudden something pops out of her butt. Not like out of her, but like out of her butt cheek. And
I just caught that. But yeah, it looks like whenever you have a bone like dislocate or something pop out of place.
Yeah, it was like just very fast. It was like a little blip. Yeah. And so then they're like, we need to roll the tape back because
we caught something weird on camera too.
Yeah, someone saw something and she's like all of a sudden becoming very self-conscious because she felt it too. And then like it was like starts acting out almost because she's like, I need my dressing robe. Yeah. And then the lady's like, it's in your dressing room. And she's like, well, go get it. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I would feel very self-conscious in that moment too if we were rolling back the tapes and like it was panned in, zoomed on your butt.
Frame by frame, 30 men watching it.
Yeah. I'd be like, oh.
And they're like, your ass has to be perfect. We got to find that imperfection. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's going back to her dressing room. Of course, she locks the door. She gets in there fast. And like while they're all looking at the tape, and then she starts to inspect her own buttocks area. And then that's whenever like she starts to just like push. And at first I was thinking like, oh, is her bone like out of place, or did her hip go out of place? Like, what's going on? And she's just like pushing and pushing and pushing all the way until like starts to come up to like where her belly button area is.
Yeah.
And then she digs in there. And this part for me was kind of hard to watch, to be honest.
Yeah.
But she just like digs in there, and then a whole ass like turkey leg, it looked like one pop out.
Yeah.
Chicken leg, turkey leg,
turkey
something.
or chicken, some sort of large bird.
Yeah, it pops out of, and one too, I just didn't understand how it just openly came out of her belly button.
Yeah, there's
her
a lot
body's not
really
like,
a body, right?
real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real,
Oh,
but
that's
it's like, I'm sure, I mean,
well, it also gave too, like, you know, because how in the end, like, they were regenerating. It's like if you were to cut her arm off, would she regenerate? Like Sue's arm? I don't know. Like, I don't know. But she, pulls that big ass chicken leg thing out of her body. And then what happens next after this?
Then she wakes up. My next note is that she wakes up in her new body. So I think maybe that was like all kind of a dream sequence for her.
Mm-hmm.
And
for
like
Sue.
that didn't,
for Sue.
you don't think the chicken wing actually happened?
I don't know. Maybe
I
it
don't
did.
know.
I'm not sure, but all of a sudden I wrote that she wakes up in her new body.
Probably
and-
an Elizabeth body.
And then she goes into the studio and everything's been canceled.
Oh, yeah.
Because she like does her hey guys and like walks in
and nobody's there, and they're cleaning, and they're like, hey, Harvey wants to see you immediately.
and she's like, oh, I'll just go get changed, and they're like, no, now.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets in she gets in there, and it seems very like, oh shit, is she about to be fired kind of thing. But then and like they really put on the scare tactics, and then he was like, ratings are through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, and then like starts crying, laughing, because she's just like was probably scared for her whole existence.
Yeah.
And she is doing that. And then
He wants her to do the New Year's special.
yes.
Which is in 3 months.
And then we basically get her going back to the body. And this is where I think the back sore started making me gag.
Yeah, because at this point, Sue is taking more and more time because she's like trying to live and I guess meet the demand of like all the scheduling stuff that they have going on.
Yeah, she's like, I got the film cover.
Yeah.
I got.
She's like, it's just one more day. Like,
yeah.
I promise we'll switch back, tomorrow, but
Just
it's
need a
just
little
one
more
more
time.
day. And then she comes back and it's the Vogue cover. And so then she takes another day
And you start to see all the little vials just like piling up on the floor and stuff. And then it's really like leaving Miss like Elizabeth fucked up because like you said, we start to see on the back that she's starting to get like that big old abscess and like the spot wherever she keeps getting all of the spinal fluid taken out of her.
it was so nasty.
And I think at this point, what's her face? Elizabeth switches back they switch back, and that's whenever Elizabeth is like, "What the fuck?"
Because it's made like whole half of her body go
old. Yeah, because she's got like the leg now, the whole arm, her hair is all frizzled out,
and half of her face.
And she's taking a shower, and then she gives them a call, and she's like, she won't stop taking time, and they're like, she's not she is you. Remember, you are one. You have to respect the balance. And she's like, basically, and they're telling her like, what has been done is done. You can't reverse it. Like you can't go back. And I think at this point, he does offer her. He's like, do you want?
He offers her.
Yeah,
to
he was
stop.
like, do you want to stop? And then she's like, will they go back? And he's like, no, can't. But you can stop. And then she's like, no, I can't stop. I need her. Like I need to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Essentially, giving almost Stockholm syndrome a bit to like her own self in a way.
Yeah, like loves her abuser.
Yeah. And then she's on the couch, and this is where we have that moment where she's like fucking with her leg, and she can't like fucking move it because she wants to get up.
The noises are so loud during this scene.
I thought it was gonna pop off.
Yeah.
Literally same. I thought it was just gonna pop off.
But when it finally does like break and you see the kneecap or whatever that growth was just shift, and I was like,
the level of relief too, though, for her, she's just like, yeah. Like after it happens, I'm just like,
I thought she broke her leg at first. I was like, damn, she just broke her leg, and then she gets up and walks perfectly fine though, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Have you ever
got a little knocked up?
Parts of her gave me. Have you ever seen The Witches?
Yeah.
Like her, like it gave me a bit of that sometimes, especially like towards like more of her like almost
further.
Like she looked like the witch from Snow White almost a bit. She looked a bit haggard.
Yeah. I definitely wrote at one point, I was like, she is haggard.
Yeah. And so and then she ends up looking at she gets up off the couch, and that's when she gets the gift that they gave her, and it was a French cookbook.
Yes.
And so she's just like kind of pissed off, I guess, right? And she's just like, ugh, and she's mad at Sue because Sue then pops up on her TV, and it's a whole like, you know, the late night TV setup show, whatever. And she's talking about her New Year's special and how her whole career is kicking off, and how, she's literally talking about Elizabeth in her show. And she's basically being like, oh, I didn't watch that. She was old.
She was old. And like kind of disrespecting her. And so Elizabeth is rightly getting pissed off. She's like, just tell them, especially whenever they ask, what's your beauty secret? And she's like, yeah, tell them what is your beauty secret? And then she's like, oh, you know, I just try to be myself. Like, and then I loved how
she was mocking
Elizabeth was mocking her. Yeah. I was like,
yeah,
this is good.
She's just mocking her in her voice. I just try to be myself. And then she's like, no, it's me.
And which is so funny because they're each other. Like the way that Sue was being so like, oh, I didn't watch it. That's you. It's that's where my brain can't wrap around. Like, I don't think I would talk about myself like that.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be that into myself. But
most definitely. It's very conflicting too, because like, you're right. Like you lived that life. Like you're the one that created it. So it's really, really, especially I guess for Elizabeth's perspective, to be like, you fucking ungrateful bitch. Like, you know,
it kind of also reminded me of like a mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah.
And like if one like
was like a big star, and then like the young one came in and was like taking all of her like thunder and glory, and then being like, yeah, whatever, she didn't pave the way for me at all. Kind
of thing. That's what it made me think of. But yeah, Elizabeth is like obliterating this turkey or chicken thing as she's just like, and then like gutting it to stuff it, and then the whisking the egg scene was just unhinged.
All over her face, which is funny. There's a lot of eggs in this movie.
Yeah, there is.
That's true. I didn't think about that ton.
I loved the scene where like it felt like a classic like horror movie scene where she like lifted the whisk up, and it was like, and then she just whisks the eggs
like it's her chainsaw or something.
It was like, this is the murder weapon, but she whisks the eggs all up and it's just getting on her face. I was like, whoa.
It's so funny because Jaden, once again he's watching this with me, and he's literally like, oh my god, babe, like what's happening? I'm like, she's literally just whisking eggs. Like, but it's really graphic. You probably don't want to watch.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's like a metaphor hidden in there somewhere about the yolk being whole and then separating, and she's just like obliterating the yolks
and mixing it all together, and then they become like one and exist at the same time.
Eliza Sue.
That's so true, because it's giving like the water, like a raindrop in the ocean. Like when a raindrop falls in the ocean, is it a raindrop still, or is it the ocean? Even though it's also cyclical and it's going to come back. Like, what is it? You know what I mean? But yeah, that's cool. I didn't see that parallel until you brought it up.
I just thought like just talking about eggs.
That happens all the time though too, when we're talking about these movies. Like we'll just be talking about it and I'm like, oh my god, light bulb goes off, and I'm like, that's what that means, or I don't know.
Yeah, that's what's so fun, is to actually get to discuss it with people, and makes you like think about things that you wouldn't have thought about if you just kept to yourself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she's cooking all of these different recipes. So there's food all over the kitchen and literally everywhere all over the apartment. She's got it on the tables and everywhere. And then at one point, does she like throw the stuff on was it the eggs or something?
Yeah, she starts throwing eggs
on the window.
Yeah.
And then she starts to put the newspaper and covering up so she won't see Sue's fucking big ass billboard.
Yeah.
And this is where she literally wrecks the entire apartment. And then like we cut back to Sue coming back, and then
she's like, control yourself.
Ah! Yeah.
The best line. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Because it's such a mess. And she's just like, what the fuck? And then also too, like, it's so much to clean. Like that is so much to just get through. Like it's crazy. But she is then
that would take the whole 7 days.
Oh yeah, literally. And then does Sue call the company or whatever, the substance people, and she's like, she's eating like a slob or whatever.
Yeah, and then they're like, you are one. And so she's like, oh, and hangs up. And then this is where she starts she gets all those vials and puts them around Elizabeth's body. And I was like, ew, so much pus is probably in that, just because she was like stabbing through the pus. And I was like, this cannot be. I was thinking she was going to start like transforming slightly herself because of like the pus and it making the like stabilizer go bad.
Yeah. But it was a lot. Whenever she started to line up all those jars, I was like, you're not. I was like, no. I was like, she can't. And then she just does. And I'm like, oh, it's so bad. Like,
and
crap.
then we cut to 3 months later. And I was like, oh, god damn.
Yeah.
She really did that.
Worse can you look?
And then and then you see all those like empty food bags, and it's like food for other self, food for self, food for other self, food for other self. And it's like she just went and gave her all of those. And
yeah,
it's just
she's been feeding her that.
Yeah, crazy. And then I wonder like how many other candidates or whatever have gone through this, how many other people are doing that or like whatever, like I don't know. But
that thing, the person I watched it with, we were talking about, do we think that those two people we met, like Elizabeth and then the other guy, are the only two people that have done this? Is it just in LA in this building with those two numbers?
Yeah. And they're like a social experiment or something to see if it works or not.
Yeah. Because I'm like, does that mean there's only that person that did it? Like, is Elizabeth the second person to ever do this? That was so we were just wondering about that.
Yeah.
That could
I wonder.
Literally be a limited series. Like the way they could spin off. Because like I would be curious to see like how that is. Or if there's like literally like 30 other people walking around LA that are like
or like different users. Countries.
Yeah. That'd be cool. No, I wonder because it's also giving like secret society, like fucking with like people and seeing how it would just work or not. Or I don't know.
It reminded me of Dr. Seuss's and the Starbelly Sneetches.
I've never heard or seen that. What is that?
So it's
a book.
And at one point, all these, they're Sneetches, and so it's this like creature, but there's ones that get stars put on their belly, and they become like the elite. And then everyone builds a machine to then get the star put onto their belly. So then they all become the Starbelly Sneetches, and they're no longer elite. So then they make another machine to start removing the Starbelly. And like
now who doesn't have a star is now the elite.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're going back to your old self. And so I could see it being like the same way here. Like all of a sudden, all of these people, like you are the elite if you have this younger version of yourself with the substance. But then if everyone starts using it and abusing it, then it's not as special. And you're, I don't know. It made me think of that.
I can see that. No, it's giving like the one episode of The Fairly Odd Parents where Jimmy wished that like everybody was the same. So they all became like gray blobs. But then they were all like, oh, I'm grayer than you. I'm a better gray than you. So it's like they even started comparing like grays.
Yeah.
Like because inevitably just human nature, I guess, we're fucking monsters. So.
Yeah. You can't ever just take something.
Yeah. And so, it's 3 months later, and Sue has really taken advantage of Elizabeth and living up this other life and really pretending like she was not on borrowed time. Because even when she was taking all those vials, I was like, there is no way. Like, girl, what are you doing? Like, there is no way that you can have enough to like create a lifetime,
Yeah.
So it was just really like from the get-go, I was like, this is not going to turn out well
Not
whatsoever.
sustainable.
Yeah. And so it's the day before the event, right? Of the New Year's. And this is whenever I'm lost in my notes here. She has to switch, right?
Yeah, because she goes to extract more. She realizes all of her vials are gone, and she goes to extract more, and it's like black.
Oh, it's so gross.
It's really
And
nasty.
she calls them, and she's like, "Hey, there's something wrong with it. Why is there?"
She starts bleeding and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then she's like, "Hey guys, there's like no more. What does she call it? She calls it something.
The
stabilizer.
A stabilizer, right? And then they're like, you have to switch. It's that simple. Like you have to switch so that way the body can
reached the
regenerate.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, if you want more, you must let the fluid regenerate. You simply have to switch. There is no other option.
Mm-hmm. And so, unfortunately, because literally it's that or die, she has to switch. And so she does switch with Elizabeth. And then that's when Elizabeth comes to, and she's like realizing what has transpired, right?
Yeah. And meanwhile, the boyfriend
Oh, right. I forgot about him.
Fuckboy is like in there. And he like comes up to the door because he starts hearing her like, making
crashing,
a whole
falling,
ruckus in the bathroom. And he gets up to the door just as Elizabeth is able to slam it shut, and she's like, "Get out!" And he's like, "Ooh, a little cranky because your lady business."
Mm-hmm.
And I was "Ew."
If I saw blood trailing to the bathroom and heard like the bathroom just being shattered to pieces, I would be like, she's on her period.
She's on her period.
Literally.
So silly.
I would be like, "Oh my God, are you dying? Let me in
Someone's
that room right
murdering
now."
you in there.
Yeah.
And as soon as, like you said, Elizabeth's like, "Get out!" He's like, "Who the fuck are you?" He's like, "What the fuck?" Yeah.
As soon as I realized another voice was in there, I would have been like trying. I guess they must not have been that close.
Yeah.
Because he didn't try very hard.
He didn't give he didn't care a lot because he runs and takes off and just leaves her. Yes.
And he's like, she doesn't sound hot anymore.
Yeah.
No, for
Can't
real.
use her.
And she is then Elizabeth's in there and she's looking in the mirror, and unfortunately she is
this is where I put, oh my God, she's so haggard.
Yeah, she's definitely giving like she's looking like one of like the main witch, the head witch from the witches, Roald Dahl's The Witches. And
this made my back hurt.
Oh yeah, the way she was all hunched.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, I was sitting down. I was like,
really hard to like exist in it. Because she had to walk like that. She said it was really hard.
Oh yeah, I bet. I can only imagine. It looked like it was, and then whenever she like trips and like falls.
Oh yeah.
And I just was like, oh my God, her whole body's gonna explode.
Yeah, this whole saga made me so sad.
Yeah.
I just felt like my grandparents or something like that. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't
how
want to
our
watch
bodies like eventually just kind of like get to that point.
And how a single fall like that can like
kill you.
Literally. Quite literally, yeah.
Which is sucks. Oh my gosh. I hope that like by the time we reach that age, medical advancements have been made.
Right.
Yeah.
But we end up she's like calling the company because she's like, this fucking bitch, she's fucked me over. She took way too much time. And they're like, well, you can terminate, like you can end this if you want. And she's like, yes, I want to, like I want to end it. And so they're like, all right, you can come and pick up your final kit. And so she like gets all dressed up. She puts on that, yellow trench coat she's been wearing all the whole movie, and then like covers up her face and looks very like
Babushka.
But yeah, Babushka, yeah, very much that. And then ends up going out, goes to get the final kit, and it's so like it's at first it was like almost like when she was coming to, like she was still kind of weakish, but it's funny her like different. She's just so determined and like fucking pissed off now.
I know. I was like, how is she moving so fast?
Yeah, she's just like, ugh, and she's like getting through the streets. She goes and gets it up, and she comes back, and then she's strong enough to like drag Sue's body, all the way to the living room, and then she's going through the process of like gonna, terminate Sue, and she gets it out. She gets it into Sue, but as soon as she's pushing it in her, that voice comes in or no, right before it comes in and it's like, are you sure you want to do this? Like,
yeah. And it says once you stop, you can't go back. You will simply remain just on your own.
And I think
Or
because
she reads that or something.
I think
It is like being said out loud, isn't it?
it's like
Yeah.
speaking to her or
Yeah.
in her mind or something. But she then is like realizing as she's like injecting it and kind of, I guess, realizing that she is now in this body now that like Sue is basically her only chance now of like embodying and like living what she wants to do and be and stuff.
Yeah.
And then
she
she's having
says,
that
I
moment.
need you because I hate myself.
Yeah, that she's doing all that. And so she's like,
Also sobbed here too.
Yeah.
yeah. And she stops injecting her with the termination stuff, and then she gets and runs to the restroom to get the little switch kit, and then she runs back, and then she starts to put it in her arm, but it's not working, and so that she stabs her in the heart, and the blood starts to transfuse, and then we get them both waking up, or Sue waking up, and then
but Elizabeth not passing out.
Exactly.
So they're both existing at the same time, and I was like,
why couldn't we have done this a long time ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
We can share.
Literally. But yeah, we have them both coming to, and then it very quickly becomes a death match fight.
Yeah, because Sue sees the termination syringe on the ground and she's like, you bitch.
Yeah.
And fucking drop kicks her and like into the giant portrait of herself. Yeah.
The multiple times that Sue kicks her, I'm just like, damn, how much power is in that kick?
I know. Well, because she breaks down the bathroom door here in a second after Elizabeth finally gets that vase and smashes it over her head.
Oh yeah.
And then she goes and she hides in the bathroom, but then Sue kicks down the deadbolted door. And I was like, damn, she got them dancer legs. They're strong.
The substance. And so yeah, she's in there, and they're unfortunately this is the part where Jane walked out, because she starts like just grabbing her and
face,
smashing her head in the glass.
Yeah, this is where I had to kind of be like,
yeah, there's a head bludgeoning.
Yeah,
pretty gnarly.
And just like there's one point too where her forehead like kind of like flops forward from like a giant chunk of it coming off, and I was like, that's so nasty. Yeah,
she's getting beat up pretty tremendously. And Sue's just like just relentlessly beating her up until she's just like a bloody mess on the floor. And then this is whenever she ends up taking her to the living room, right?
Yeah, and she like punts her across the living room, and like, because again, she kicks her, and Elizabeth goes flying, which I imagine she's probably pretty frail and not weighing much.
Yeah,
because she hasn't eaten in 3 months. I mean, she's eaten like
liquid
IV stuff, but yeah, so she like punts her across the living room, and lands on that glass coffee table. And so yet again, more glass, like probably just making Elizabeth bleed out. And she just starts kicking her in the side until blood is everywhere.
Yeah,
and
it's pretty hard to watch.
Covered in blood. Yeah. And I know, because it was like to an old woman too, where I was like, oh no.
I was like in the theater, I was with my boyfriend, and he's just like watching it like you watch a movie, and I am like gasping for breath, sobbing, and he's just like, I don't understand this reaction. And I'm like, he's like, this is kind of like a gross scene, and you're just like sobbing. But I feel like, because like at first she was mad because of the Terminator fluid, and then I feel like she just got into this blind rage where she just hated this old version of herself.
Yeah.
Because she even has like a moment, like maybe the moment is like her realizing she just killed her life source, or is it like, oh wait, that's me. Like that's what I am gonna be soon.
Yeah.
And I'm just sobbing. Because also it's like, did you guys watch the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight? It a little bit felt like watching that fight, like Jake Paul, whatever, 27, beating up like a 58-year-old man. Like it was that like that. It was just sad to watch. Like yeah,
very upsetting.
Rough.
Yeah.
No, I feel you. There's so many. It's like an onion. There's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yeah, because I was like, remember, you are one. If she dies, you die. And so I was expecting her to die.
Yeah.
right then.
Instantly in that moment.
Yeah.
I was too, but she just kind of has that like little like moment, and then it's just like, okay, whatever, like
on we go.
Yeah. And then she ends up unfortunately killing herself, which I was then at that point like just thinking like, oh, how is this gonna work out now that like she's dead? And then I was also thinking like, how would that have worked out if they didn't kill each other? Like, would it have even been possible for them to both be alive at the same time? Yeah. But it's showtime, so she goes to the studio, and she's getting all dressed up. She's in her blue dress, like everybody's getting her ready for the show. But then like she's at her little dressing station ready, the lights, and whenever she starts to feel something weird, so she ends up, or she's coughing, she's getting an uncontrollable cough, and so she goes to the restroom, and when she gets there, she ends up, her teeth are falling out.
Yeah, she spits out a tooth, and then she starts to just pull out the other teeth, and I was like, ugh. And I've had so many dreams where I've done this.
Yeah.
Just like teeth falling out.
That
it's
means
like
something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
From what I have heard, it means that you have something to say that you are not willing to say.
Oh.
And like that's why it's so related to your mouth.
Yeah.
That's just like one interpretation of teeth falling out dreams, because they're very common.
Yeah.
Yeah. My worst one was, I was having like a moment where my teeth were falling out, but my mouth was like zipped shut. So my teeth were falling out in my mouth, and I could feel them swooshing around in there with all my blood. And then like it was just like getting so much bigger and bigger and full of blood in my mouth, but I couldn't like release it, that I felt like my head was going to explode.
That's terrifying.
Oh my God, that's a really aggressively violent dream.
Not
what was going on in your life?
Not a fun night. And so then that's whenever we cut to her kind of just like, I love how she's just like smiling like in the mirror with like all this blood. She's freaking out, obviously.
Yeah.
And then she cleans herself up because the PA people are like, hey, like we got to get you on stage, and she's like, I'll meet y'all there. And she's walking that way, and unfortunately, and of course, Harvey ends up running into her with all of the like executive
shareholders
people
and stuff,
and they're looking at her, and once again we get that like fisheye lens on him, and he's just like, what's wrong, like, are you okay? He's like,
well then smile.
All pretty girls should smile.
I know. Yeah. And like I literally have a tattoo that says, don't tell me to smile.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's with a little clown, and it says, don't tell me to smile.
And then
because I've been told to, like, I was sitting at Chewy's once, and this man came up to me and he goes, you'd be a lot prettier if you smiled. And I was like, sir, I'm just trying to eat my fucking beans. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah, for real. Just be like.
And I had worked like 118 hours that week. Like,
I had been working
when I had 4 jobs, and I was like, I don't want to smile. Yeah. I'm literally barely alive right now.
Some dudes, dude. And so
another old man.
Yeah, probably. And she ends up running into the elevator after this whole situation, because she gives them like a little, like no teeth smile, and they like walk off, and they're all obnoxious, and like the dudes who are like 90 years old are like skipping,
like, following the girls, the showgirls, and I was like, ew, what a disgusting group of men.
Yeah. And so she gets in the elevator, and then like her nail was falling apart. It's coming off.
That one was harder than the teeth for me to watch.
Yeah, that was, I was like, ooh, not the nails, not the nails. And then she pulled it off.
And then the dude walks in, but not before him walking in, her ear falls off, and so everything sounds really muffled.
Yeah, that
which I thought was a really cool like effect to like add that, like, oh, it's like, oh, we're hearing how she's hearing right now. And then she's basically just like running home because she's falling apart, because her life source, like you said, is dead. And it was her. And so she ends up running home, and on the way home, she's like remembering that like she still had a bit of the activator left.
Yeah.
And so she gets home, and she's just like you said, I just need a better, younger version of myself. And she is so desperate that she injects like what's left of that activator in her. And then we have kind of a recreation of the scene we saw earlier where Elizabeth passed out and stuff. And so she ends up passing out, and then we come to, And there's
you could tell that the mutation went wrong because this time in the eye, instead of it just splitting into two, it was like
six
eyes all in her eyeball.
Mhm.
And it was wild. I was like, ooh, she's like a little spider.
Yeah. Could you imagine? And then she ends up coming, or I don't want to assume it's pronouns. They then end up coming to, and then she's just like, it's looking at the body there, and it's obviously Sue. And then
I called her the whole time.
Her, yeah. Her, well, it's her. And then it's Sue, it's Monstro Eliza Sue. And so I love how whenever she's coming up, like she kind of like catches a glimpse of herself in the mirror, and it's like, whoa, like she's like, whoa,
like let's pretend that didn't just happen.
Like maybe if I look away and I look back, I'll be normal again.
Yeah.
And then just comes back up, and we can see that she's not she's not looking too hot.
Yeah, she's
but she's cute. She's cute on the inside.
She's cute on the inside, and
even though she just had this monstrous character development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's like her looking at herself, and I think she's having this moment where she's just kind of like almost like accepting this version of herself, or she's like,
she doesn't have any other choice,
right? Or in some way she's just kind of like, I kind of do look good.
Yeah.
Like,
because she just starts getting dressed, and
it's almost like it, like the moral of the movie is told in her, where it's like, well, it doesn't matter, like you could sell it, it doesn't matter, it's on the outside. That's what I felt like. She was like, well, I could just be confident, I could just go show up, like I just, she's the best character.
And then there was an interview where the like director said that whenever she ends up going to like here in the end where we see she shows up, it's like, and the people are yelling at her, it's kind of more or less a commentary on like her feeling like she does deserve to be there, and the people in society being like, you don't deserve to feel pretty because you're ugly, essentially. And then we see what happens, but she gets dressed up, she puts that dress on, and I love how there's like a boob like just like out right there, and then like half a dress here, and then she like sticks the earrings like onto like the like just punctures her skin,
her head
where ears should be. And then
curling her hair, and then like the curler just like burns off the hair, and she was like, oh, okay.
She was like, oh, don't need that, I look good without it. And then she ends up walking there, and we see it from her perspective.
The portrait of Elizabeth.
That's right.
Ends up cutting out her face and puts it on her face, and then draws a big old pretty smile on her, because now she's hearing all of the like kind of backlog of things, like if you just put a boob where her nose, like her boobs where her nose were and stuff, like everything's in the right place this time, and like all pretty girls should smile, so she draws on that big old smile. And
I thought it was quite ironic too that like we start the movie with Elizabeth who's not happy with herself, and then you have Eliza Sue who then puts on like
Elizabeth's face
on, which was almost what she was trying to get away from in the whole entirety of the film.
Again, it goes back to my fortune cookie. You are perfect the way you are.
You are.
Yeah.
And
you shouldn't need to change yourself.
It off. And the cosmetic surgery and like everybody's just like, burn those fortune cookies.
Yeah.
Literally. And so she's walking in her way there, and then it's funny that like or not funny, I guess. I guess in her mind, she's envisioning like all these people being like, oh yeah, we're here for you. Yay. Like we love you. But there's no one there. But to me, like, I think a few people did actually see her right before she gets on stage. And, at least
right. Because they were like, you're the door guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Like even the door guy. And then it's just like, does nobody like see the arm sticking out the back?
That takes me back to the elevator scene where her ear is not attached to her head. She has blood coming down. She's covering her mouth and like screaming. And the guy in the elevator is just talking to her. He's like so unobservant.
Happening.
And I feel like it's just people are so unobservant of anything going on in people's lives, and
that just
reminds me of that.
No, people. I'm a server, like, and so a lot of people. I get that. Like people are so unobservant all the time. And it's like,
Yeah.
I guess my job to be super observant of like what people need and stuff. So I'm just always constantly realizing like, damn, these bitches are so unobservant.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of frustrating. But anyway,
I
Yeah.
also thought he might have been a hallucination because whenever she gets into the
Oh.
hallway and everyone's like applauding her and like saying
wasn't
like this is where
real.
you belong and you'll
Mhm.
always belong here, you're irreplaceable, like we love you, and then no one is actually there.
yeah.
So
That's
I thought
true.
maybe she could have hallucinated him as well and been
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, like they still want me,
Yeah.
and going through
Oh, that's a
that.
good point. Yeah.
But he also could have, it also could have just been like, he was so unobservant.
Yeah. And then we, you know, have all this going on while we have all the people out in the, you know, crowd. People are sitting down. There's for some reason a child here. And
I
I'm like,
know. I saw the child and I was like, wait, those showgirls have their titties out.
Yeah, literally. I was like, why
But
is there a
it's also
child
been
here?
televised. I'm
Yeah.
like, isn't this like NBC, whatever?
That's what
we
it was
watch?
giving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they said they had 50 million viewers.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
the boobs were just out too. And so I was like, well, that's interesting. But, you know,
Primetime television.
call me old fashioned, but just kidding. And so she, you know, Monster Eliza Sue makes it just on time for curtain call because as the whole, you know, stuff is going on, the spotlight gets thrown out, and then you just have like all the girls just kind of like smiling and waiting for, you know, Sue to come out, and then we just hear like to the
Yeah,
mic.
heaving.
Yeah.
And then we've got like that space theme playing, like that. Dun,
Yes.
Such a good song for that moment.
Dun, dun.
Literally, I literally, when I heard them, I was like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
I was like,
and
what?
then- that's what I was like, no. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, they did it. And I was like, oh my God.
And so, yeah, and then you have Monster Eliza Sue up there, and she's just like, I'm so happy to be here with everyone. And then, like, they're all like it's crickets.
Like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden she grows a boob,
Yeah. And it's
And
just
it
like,
just, like-
coming
Oh, like
through.
spits it out.
spits
Yeah.
it out. Yeah. Cause it's like, yeah, coming off from the head, and it just like falls down with like a
Mhm.
little umbilical cord looking thing. And
Just
then
plops down.
that's when everyone starts screaming because one girl stands up and she's like,
Yeah. Not having it. And they're all just like, it's so comical, right? Because it's like the classic, like, you know, monster, like pointing and
yeah, very like
screaming.
Frankenstein's monster and stuff.
The ladies are all getting up one at a time, just screaming and shrieking.
And they're like, shoot the monster, shoot the monster. And I
All the
was like,
guys.
why are we automatically going to killing her?
Yeah, literally. And then they all get up, and then it's just like pandemonium. And then that's whenever they start to get, was it the like microphone pole holder
Yeah.
stand? Yeah. And then they just like start to like,
Obliterates her head.
start to just like, prod at her one, and then because I think at first the arm, like something gets chopped off in its arm, and blood starts getting sprayed everywhere.
I think that happened after they shoot her head. or
Is it?
And she
pop
grows
her
a
head
new head.
off.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
'cause
and then she grows that new head out.
She grows the new head,
Mhm.
and then her arm gets chopped off, and then she's like spewing blood all over the audience. And then we're getting some more playback of those old audio clips, like everything's in the right place now, blah blah blah, and all pretty girls should smile. We're getting all that mixed in as well, and it was such a beautiful scene. Like,
I love this.
yeah,
Mhm.
because and then it had like heavy metal almost like
Yeah.
playing in the background, and then it would switch to like
It's like
the
whimsical.
bloodbath, yeah, like whimsicalness, and I was like, wow,
There's just so much blood
it's
everywhere.
like a whole new world.
Yeah, and everybody's just getting drenched, and Harvey and everybody, and she's just there like, ah,
Yeah,
you know, just like spraying it out, and then she starts to run away, and then as she's running away, she's spraying blood like all over the walls and all over the people, and then
again,
ends
very
up-
Shining-esque.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say that was the other Shining reference.
Yeah,
with all the blood,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and then the walls and
covering the
stuff.
hallway and stuff.
And then she ends up making her way out. And as she's running out, it's like her body is essentially almost like deteriorating on itself. It's like deteriorating, but then regenerating at the same time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's like her cells are just like, they don't know what to
we
do
don't
anymore.
know what to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, like this was so like fucking like heartbreaking as her, like she's just running
Mhm.
and then like her leg just like burst.
Yeah, and then she falls on the sidewalk and just explodes.
Yeah.
But then Elizabeth's little head that was on the back of her body kind of
It's like an
crawls
octopus
off.
almost.
Yeah, it's like
Mm-hmm. squelches away.
Yeah, and pulls itself to back to her star. And it was this full circle moment where we get the sparkles raining down, and she's hearing all the accolades again. And like, we love you, Elizabeth, like, yay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she just kind of dissolves onto her star, and then
I thought that was kind of the weirdest. Like, she just kind of dissolved like into water. Like, it was just like
watery blood, pussy
yeah.
substance.
And then just went away.
Yeah, and then next day we get the little cleaning man coming through with the big cleaning, shiny polishing machine.
Like a Zamboni.
Yeah, and he pushes it along, cleans her little star right up, and then it's the substance.
Which is really...
Roll credits.
Yeah, the end, which was a really poignant way to end it, as we started where we ended where we started. But yeah, I think the movie had a lot to say, and I think it said it loud and clearly and very
bloody and obnoxious.
Yeah, and like there were parts of it that are like nuanced, but then there were other parts of it that were just super like, just I feel like meant to be like visually like stunning, and like just like it's almost in the same like where it was meant to be give a lot of commentary and like make you think and like make you feel like, hey, like this is, you know, what's going on in society, this is what's going on in like the industry, especially you know, and the standards and stuff that are in Hollywood, but also like, yeah, look at her ass, she looks great. Like, you know, look at her boobs, like she looks great. Like it was like almost like all in itself a commentary on itself, but also perpetuating what it's commenting on.
Yeah.
But overall too, like then like I actually really love too. I love when like we love movies that like when they're like segmented. Like one, it makes like note taking super easy, and like chapters, it's really digestible, and it's really like a good way to break down the different developments and layers in essentially one character's development, because they were the same person. But not the same person. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're getting to, like last week we watched Ju-on, the original Grudge.
Yeah.
And that one's broken up into like 5 or 6 chapters. And it makes it so much more digestible. Because even though that this was a 2-hour and 20-minute movie, it definitely didn't feel that long.
They were smart to break it up like that.
Yeah. Because even when they break it up with the title card, with the substance, that's almost like a little chapter within itself.
Did you guys watch Strange Darling?
Which one?
It's a Strange Darling.
No, I don't think so.
It's a newer movie, but it's
yeah,
I totally recommend it. It's broken up into I think like 5 or 6 chapters, but they're out of order, and it really like turns the storytelling on its head. It's really cool.
That sounds like, so interesting.
Could have just told it in order, but they're like, well, let's start in the end, and it doesn't go like backwards. It's just you'll get random chapters.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's cool because they'll put the card out. Yeah.
I like stuff like that though, because like where you have to kind of put it together like a puzzle almost.
Yeah, and it's like the story. It's not like it makes it hard to follow or anything, but it changes how you're like consuming it, and it totally makes the story different.
Yeah.
But I like that interpretation.
Where if you were to watch it, like were there like certain like shows or movies where like if you were to tell it like just linear, like your whole perspective like would be changed, as opposed to like watching it or like where you start with the end and then you kind of like get to like bits piece by piece, because then you're like, oh my god, that was actually happening, wow, that was happening, and we were like, I didn't realize that the whole time, like or whatever.
We should watch that in the new year.
Add it to the list.
Did you guys like The Substance? Did you like it?
Yeah.
Hated it. Worst film
I know,
of the year.
Was it the Terrifier episode? What was the movie you guys were saying that you didn't like when watching it, but the comments made you like reflect on it differently? I can't remember the movie that it was.
It might have been Oculus.
I think that's what it was for me, was Oculus. Yeah.
But I really liked Oculus.
I liked Oculus too.
Yeah.
But we both my like didn't like it.
But there's a lot of movies like that I'll watch, and then like once we start talking about it, I'm like, oh, I actually like it a lot more now that we're talking about it.
Yeah, sometimes you just need different perspectives brought in to help you appreciate a film more. Do you want to give your booze first, or do we want to let Tess give her booze first? So what we do, I know that you listen, but we give it as rating based off of 0 to 5 boos, 5 being the best. And we then just kind of explain why we liked the film.
I'm trying to think of my rating. I'll go my rating. I'll give it.
Okay.
I think I'd give it honestly like a 5.
Yeah.
Because honestly, overall,
Spoiler alert.
spoiler
Me
alert.
too.
Yes.
I think that life has no rewind, and you have to enjoy every moment. So I'm just kidding. I'm reading like a poster that's on the wall over there.
Oh, I was like, wow, that was so poetic.
But literally, life has no rewind, and you have to enjoy every moment. So it's like, I think it's one also commentary on like, even just like we do, like even me as like I just turned 30 this year, and like I'm like, I like to make music and stuff, and sometimes I look at like people who are my age or people that are younger and be like, damn, like I'm like, ugh, like I wish I could just put a little time machine. I can go back to 21 and I like put that song out, or go, just like do like put myself out there and go like play random gigs and stuff and build that experience up. But I really let like, life, and then just like, oh, I'm not good enough, I won't do it, or I'll do it next, I'll do it eventually or something. And then I think we all kind of have certain things that we like wish we would have done or wish we would have pushed ourselves to do.
Oh yeah.
And I think this movie kind of follows into that with like Elizabeth, where she's just like now realizing that like she's kind of put all of her focus on like, I guess, her Sparkle, the show and stuff, and she's just like wanting to in essence, that's all she ever had, so she wants to relive that because there was nothing else to like give her life substance. There was nothing else to give it like meaning. So at the end of it, when she felt like, damn, like there was nothing else to it, that's why it kind of triggered her to want to do all of that. Because I feel like maybe, okay, I'm going on a tangent, but anyways, this movie is so good because like it has us thinking in so many ways, in so many thought-provoking like commentaries on like how we see ourselves, how we see other people, how like I can say a million nice things to you about how beautiful you are, but then like I'll go look in the mirror and then tear myself apart.
Yeah.
And then that's essentially what like both characters were doing to each other, even though they were themselves. And then obviously the movie was shot really pretty and visually stunning. And even like the audio and every Dennis Quaid did such a good job at his portrayal of his character. Demi Moore, like, what is she not good in, right?
Yeah.
But like she killed it, like, and especially even that scene where she's like getting ready for the date and she's just like, and she goes back and then it's just like, it's so visceral and it's so real. And I think even too, her as a woman, like allowing herself to be filmed in such a way and like letting her rawest like moments kind of almost even be shown. Like,
I know, I did think about like how hard that must have been for her as an actress, being portrayed as this washed up, not beautiful anymore woman, when Demi Moore like once was and still is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful women on the planet.
But like to think of like someone who her, like you said, like back in like their heyday, like, people 80s, 90s, when she was so sexualized and still like all the men wanted to be with her, but then like also have like the same commentary being put on her now as the character in the movie. But I'm pretty sure she fights these same things in real life where people are like, you're too old now, or you can't do that film, or you can't do this because you've aged out, So it's really cool and ironic, and it's just like almost too real and unreal. But I would give the movie a 5 because on like kind of all aspects of it, it's really entertaining. It's got like shock factor. It's a little goopy, a little gory. The actors are phenomenal.
The creature design.
The creature design.
I hope they win things. I hope they get nominated for Oscars and stuff. Like at least for makeup, but also the acting and everything.
It's so sad too because horror movies don't like get like the recognitions that they do, because even in a lot of horror movies there's so much drama that has to be put behind like why we're afraid or what, or like the depths to some of them, like Hereditary, or like, some of those like
Toni Collette was totally snubbed from that movie. She deserved her
for sure, because the like acting, what was it and I think people are kind of down the middle. It's either you liked it or not. But Smile 2, I watched it.
I loved it.
And I think Naomi Scott should get an Oscar for her portrayal.
I put that in my review of it, that I've never just like, I mean, I cry very easily. Obviously, I talked about how I cried this whole movie. But like her just sobbing in the car scene was, oh my God, it was so good.
And like, just, I've never like her descent into madness was so like real. Like, it was so like, whoa, I felt like I was watching a real life story happening in front of me. Like, and she just really was believable in that portrayal. But yeah, like, same thing here. Like, I hope that they get some sort of recognition from it and for it, because also too, like, I mean, I've been seeing it everywhere, like on TikTok and like Instagram and like, you know, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just like niche and like, I of course see like horror movie stuff, right? It's you know, whatever the algorithm, but like, I think that like, especially, I think other people are catching on to just like how good it is, and just like how like it's really like, I think it's a cultural, like, I think over time, I think like in 10 years, like this will be like one of those movies that it's like, it has like a cult following or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would agree.
But five boos from me.
So we also give fun facts. Did you want to give your boos before or after the fun facts?
I'll do before.
Okay.
Right, we're just giving ratings?
Yeah, and why you liked it.
Okay. I mean, I'm 5 boos too. It's like I put it in my Letterboxd top 4 because that's how much I loved it. I said in my review of it on there that I compared it to the Barbie movie with how it made me feel, where I was like, I mean, this movie transcends the gender aspect of it, but I was like, it's so hard to be a woman. But I think that the substance takes that as like, well, it's hard to be anyone because it's so hard to live up to the standards that honestly, like, we are creating, and the just social media and the, like, I think like of all the plastic surgeries that are now becoming so normalized, and like, I think it was so taboo to say that you had Botox or filler maybe even 10, 15 years ago. And now it's like everybody has it. And it's just these standards that we're creating for ourselves and having to live by. And I think watching this movie and just seeing it told in such a like gross body horror way, because we are just injecting ourselves and cutting ourselves open, which is totally fine. I have nothing against people doing that, but it's like showing that in the same way of like the gross body stuff. I loved it. I loved I could go on forever about how much I love this movie, but everything you said too about, I turned 30 this upcoming year. I'm 29, but seeing the thing in the newspaper where it's like looking for girls 18 to 30. I'm like, damn, I don't fit in that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I used to watch these, like, I'm not like being like, oh, I could do it, but it's like, oh, wait, I'm now not part of that demographic that's considered like young and hot.
Yeah.
Same. I was going through this the other day too. Yeah. I was like, wait, what? Oh, I was like, because I said something. I was like, oh, in my 20s. I was like, oh, I can say that now because I'm literally not in my 20s anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Like,
I know. I'm about to be 31 in like 2 months. And so I'm like, it's
no longer just 30. You're not on the edge anymore. You're like, you're actually in it.
Now I'm in my 30s.
Yeah, you're like
I'm not
31.
just like 30 anymore.
30, yeah.
I'm about to be 31.
Yeah.
Closer to 40.
Yeah, no, I feel, and see, like, and why do we feel that way? We shouldn't, but because of how society has made us feel, like, it's like, I think
I keep telling myself I'm going to peak again when I'm 35. It'll be those Oprah 30, 25, 35, 45. I'll just keep getting better.
I'm a big believer in those memes that are like, Oprah didn't start her show till 42. Someone didn't do this till something. Steve Jobs didn't do this till like 50. So I'm like, you know what?
One day we're going to blow up and we'll be awesome. And we'll love ourselves. And it'll be great.
Hopefully we won't blow up like this.
Physically.
Yeah. Like Monstro Elizabeth.
Oh, poor thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah. We'll have to, the Powerpuff Girl, you know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, that's what Elizabeth reminded me of.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 5 boos, 5 boo rating.
Yes.
5 boo rating, 5 boos for me. And then Caitlin, before your boo rating, you have some fun facts for us?
Yes, I do. So Ray Liotta was cast in the film in February 2022, but he died in May that year before he could film his scenes. Dennis Quaid replaced him, but Liotta is still mentioned in the director's thank you notes during the credits.
Aww.
Yeah, I know.
That sucks.
Yeah.
This one you kind of already mentioned on, but we can give some credit to the French makeup artist, Margaret Qualley. is that how you say it?
Quali.
Okay. Revealed in interviews that her breasts in the movie are not her own. They are prosthetics designed by the French makeup artist Olivier Persson. Quali stated, unfortunately, there's no magic boob potion, so we had to glue those on. Corley, the movie's director, found an incredible prosthetic team to endow me with the rack of a lifetime, just not my lifetime. Oh, I'm sure her boobs are great. Your boobs are great, Margaret.
Yeah, for sure.
In real life, and then your prosthetics were great too. But you're beautiful all around. In the film, Elizabeth Sparkle turns 50 years old. Demi Moore, who portrays the character, was 61 years old at the time of shooting this film.
Wow, she looks
No.
great.
I know,
Yeah,
to be looking like her at 61
I
is,
mean, I think we can be, to be honest, probably like there's some money and stuff that goes into that, right? Hollywood.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still, like she looks good.
she does.
Mm-hmm.
Demi Moore said she was nervous about filming full nudity at age 61 and felt vulnerable, but she credited co-star Margaret, who was 29 at the time of filming and portrayed a younger version of her character, with making her feel comfortable on set. Quali also performed totally naked. Moore said she found someone who was a great partner who I felt very safe with. We obviously were quite close. Yeah, I mean, they had to, like, at one point she fell on her, like, boob to boob. But she said we were obviously quite close naked, and we also got a lot of levity in those moments at how absurd those certain situations were. And then lastly, in an interview for Tracy Smith, CBS News Sunday Morning with Jane Pauley, 1979, Demi Moore stated that for the full mirror sequence, she did at least 15 takes for each scene, and at the end of the day, her face was raw. Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, the rubbing scene.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
That's so emotional too, to like have to do that so many times and put yourself in that place. I was just thinking about that, like how you were talking about them and being naked and on each other, like it's like, I don't think like, it's like we watch stuff, right, and we're just like, anybody could do that, but it's just like it takes such an art and such a skill to be an actor, and one, like, do those things, but also like to be able to like they're on each other and they're like having to do these serious stuff and they're just naked, and then like someone says cut and they're like like how do you do that? Like,
yeah.
I'd probably feel like, man, if I was an actor, I'd be like crazy. It'd be like I'd have to stick in that like character and like
Get off me.
I don't know, right? Like if they hated each other, it'd be like, get off, bitch. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to hate you for this film. I don't know. Like, because you have to stick in that mode. Like, how do you go into sub steps where it's believable, and then you can just be like, all right, let's go get some crackers from the craft services. Like, you know,
it is pretty wild.
It's pretty awesome, like what people can do and make us feel. Because like I'd be crying all the time with movies and stuff, and I'm just like,
I want a tattoo that says, I always joke that my life motto is cry now, cry later.
Yeah, cry now, cry later. Oh, that's cute. Yeah, you can cry all the time. Yeah,
I would cry everything.
It's really like just a test to their talent and their filmmaking, and like this director of like everything that this movie made us feel. So yeah. I think that's why it's very deserving of all the boos we give it. Caitlin, we're ready for your boo rating.
Oh yes, I will also give it 5 boos. I thought it was phenomenal. Just from a cinematography standpoint, it was just beautiful. I don't know what I can really say that you two haven't already said, but it was just an incredible film that was thought-provoking and made me, look into some darker parts of myself, and then have to come to terms with the fact that, like, this isn't a reality and you can't just change yourself. And if you do, there probably are bad side effects.
Bad ramifications.
Yeah, that like you should be appreciative of the body that you have, and that allows you to get up every day and to work and to do things and to have fun and enjoy life. Like
this one life. Yeah.
It's the only one you get. There is no magic potion that you can just bloop, like inject into your veins and then all of a sudden have a new
restart,
fresh start. Like that's not reality. And just again, like my fortune cookie said, you're perfect the way you are. And so it's tough to remember that sometimes, but I think that was the ultimate kind of like message from this film, is that you are perfect the way you are. And like, if you go out there seeking a betterment to what you think is a better option, it could come back to bite you in the ass.
Literally, yeah. And I think that's what most of these films usually end up happening, especially with a lot of times when people try to change themselves or do something. Like, at the heart of the film is always like, you were better off probably where you were when you started, because usually it's like you either like this, you die, or you get in some trouble, or someone that you love dies, or like you get into some, it's okay, you get into like some huge, like, I don't know, you get into trouble, you get in the mix with the wrong crowd, or you get financial trouble, or you go to jail. Like, there's always some bad trade-off to you doing something that you probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
For like, you know,
for what seems like a good idea in the moment. Kind of like, you know, like if you could have one wish, like what would that wish be? But then like
to have 1,000 more wishes.
Yeah. But then like what are the side effects of like
that one wish?
Of that one wish? Like, what you ask for, does it take away from someone else? Kind of thing. And does it take away, like, if your one wish is for something about you, does it take away from you? And yes, in this movie's case, it literally did. It took away her life force. It drained her.
And time. Like, she sacrificed living her life. What was it, 3 months probably total that this lasted? Because the 3 month jump, or maybe 4. So for a month, she got to be famous again. And then she just died. And she was so content with it in the end. On the star, smile.
When she could have, she was only 50. She had another 50 years to live her life to go. And she could have maybe like had a new endeavor, done something different, or, you know, took advantage of it. But instead, like you said, she just.
That 1 month of fame was like not worth it. Yeah.
And then it's really sad too, because like that whole moment where she was just like, I need you. I hate myself. And like, I need you. And it's almost like it gave stage mom where she was like, come on, sweetie. Like, you need to wake up. It's your big show. Like, you need to go. Like, come on. Like, you know, it's just really hard to watch, because she's like, ultimately we're our own biggest self-sabotage, like saboteur, you know, we implode ourselves and are our worst critic. So all in all,
beautiful film, beautiful message, and just wow, 10 out of 10. I'm upset that I haven't watched it before this morning.
You watched it this morning?
Yeah, that was my first time watching it. I got up at 7 a.m.
Nice and fresh.
And watched it, and then drove up or down here. And but I mean, I had heard of it because we had like talked about it, right?
Yeah,
when you were
I've
up
been
there.
seeing it everywhere, to be honest.
Yeah, and we kind of mentioned it and like talked about it, and then I had seen it in your work.
Yeah.
And but like I hadn't like known of it really until we talked about it that one time at brunch, like a few weekends back. And then I was like, oh, what is this movie about? And then I kind of looked into it and I was like, ooh, this seems good. So whenever you suggested it, I was like, yes, let's do that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about see it that I could talk about. I was like, there's so much to talk about with this movie. So I thought it would be a good one to do.
Yeah, I love it was a really great pick. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I love that it's like
how'd you guys like talk about it?
A fresh movie too, and like a newer movie too, because like there's been so much good horror coming out, especially this year. I feel like horror is having a renaissance. I feel like people are just wanting to escape to it right now, especially everything that's happened, because life has felt like horror for the past, 8-ish years. Because it feels like just one thing happened and another thing and then this and that, and then it kind of seems like we might be going back into another horror streak. But it's just really cool and really exciting. So thank you, once again for picking it.
And then, do you want to plug anything and plug yourself really fast?
Sure.
Before we do our sign off.
Yeah, I guess my largest social media is my Instagram, which is Tess Artist.
And we'll definitely link her too.
Trying to do YouTube too. I haven't done anything on it yet, but same name. That's it.
That's cool. No, and you guys definitely should check out her art, because it's fucking badass.
The coolest. And if you follow us on Instagram, we have shared her art for at least a year now, since the Barbie movie came out. So we've been doing lots of, we've been sharing her stuff a lot. So if you follow us on Instagram, you've probably seen her art. And then, yeah, but we'll link her again on our Instagram. So for those of you who do listen, if you want to come find her art, you can do that.
And they can
Thank
do
you.
that at our one social media podcast.
Our one social media platform, which is Instagram, and that is at
BOOBAES podcast, because we're your boo bays, not your boo babes.
That's right. And as always, we are in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios. They take great care of us, even with trains
Just have a
whirring
train
by.
whirring by. Yeah, it's so funny because the train, we're downtown, and so like the train is literally like right there.
Yes,
so-
it's very close to this building, so
Yeah,
no amount
I
of
have a train right
soundproofing.
next to my house too, and I was like, oh, I kind of hope it doesn't go by. 'cause
Yeah.
it's pretty loud.
It's okay.
Well, it's okay
if you
if
want
it
train,
does.
we got you covered. Okay.
But yes, they always take great care of us, and you can listen to us and all the other amazing podcasts that they host all in one central place, and that is
At roguemedia.com.
That's right. And then if you want to listen to us, you can do so on a slew of podcasting platforms, but the biggest two would be
Spotify.
and also Apple. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to.
Rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And we've already shouted out our Instagram, so make sure you go follow both of us, Tess and her artwork, and then us on our Instagram. And yeah. Do you have any final words you need to say or want to say?
Thank you guys for having me. This was really fun.
Good. I'm
First time
so
I've
glad
done
you liked
something
it.
like this. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it's really cool. No, you were a really good collaborator, and
Well, thank you.
we would be
Yeah.
excited. We would be
A little
excited to have
nervous.
you back again.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you
I would love
ever
to.
have another movie that you're like, have y'all covered this? Like, we could definitely do it
Yeah.
again.
Oh, I'm so down.
Yay. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
it was such a lovely time having you on. It's so great to
thank
finally
you.
meet you after admiring your
Yeah.
work for
Oh, that's so great. Thank
years
you.
and years. Not years and years, but at least a year. It feels like this
Yeah.
year's felt
Barbie
like a really
movies-
long time.
It's been almost 2 years since the Barbie movie, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it
It-
has, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Years and years.
it has been years and years. Yeah. I can't
Has it
believe.
been?
Yeah, because it came
I
out
don't
in
know,
like
I can't-
August
Yeah.
of 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's
year and a half.
crazy. No, yeah,
Yeah.
time flies by really fast, to be
Mhm.
honest.
I still haven't seen the Barbie movie.
No.
Well,
You need to
now
watch
it's
it.
like a double feature with the substance. They're kind of similar.
Okay.
They're not really, but like the vibe.
I
The
definitely
vibe.
I wanted
The
to see
feeling.
it,
It's
but
the
then I
vibe.
didn't want to deal
Yeah.
with all the people who were like also going to try and see it at the same time, and I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, I don't want to deal with the crowd.
It was all
So-
Barbenheimer madness.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I never went to see it, and then whenever it came out on streaming platforms, I haven't watched it yet. Mainly because all I do watch is horror, and so
Yeah.
I
It's the
forget that.
horror of being a woman.
Yes, I wanna see it so bad because I've heard lots of really great like reviews about it, but then I've also
Mhm.
heard some people disliked it. But
Haters.
yeah, I feel like I'm probably gonna love it. I mean, I love
I feel like
Barbie
you would
growing
like it.
up, and
Mhm.
like all the message of what it seems to have. Like I really enjoy what it seems to offer. So one day I'll watch it.
It gave us I love the movie. It's a really good movie, but all I can really be thankful is that it gave us meow 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 meow. Billie Eilish's What Am I Waiting For? But meow meow
meow meow.
meow 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 meow. Literally, that's I love it.
That is one of my
If
favorite
that
things
doesn't get
to
you to
watch.
watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for that.
No, but it is so good. Dude, I love it. No, because she's in concert too and she's touring, right? And there's like she's singing that song and all the like people in this like the crowds are like meow 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 meow. Like, could you imagine creating one of the best songs ever in the world and everybody's just like meow 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 meow? Because it is such a beautiful song. Like it's like
I think didn't it win an Oscar? That song?
I
yeah,
think
it's
it
a
did.
Academy Award, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I know. Cats.
But it's so good.
No, just cats.
Yeah. But
love it.
well, what else do we need to add? I think that's it.
I think that is it. So
Until next time.
until next time, we just say bye, bays.
Bye, bays.
Bye, days.
Yay.
Boo bays.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.